For over 15 years, Saturdays and Illegal Curve have been synonymous with one another. With insight, analysis, and interviews regarding the Winnipeg Jets, the Manitoba Moose, and all around the NHL, here are Dave Manouk, Ezra Ginsberg, and your host, Drew Mindell. The Illegal Curve Hockey Show, presented by Play Now, the official sports betting partner of the Winnipeg Jets, starts now.
All righty, hang on a second, folks. I just got to do one thing. I just got to update my name here. You know, we're focused in, we're locked in. We're gonna do a lot of hockey talk here, but I just got to change my name on the displays to, you know, my new legal name, of course, is Meatman Mindell. So that's what we're going with for the remainder, at least for a little while here. This morning on the Illegal Curve Hockey Show, more details about that to come throughout the course of the program, because frankly, it's far more entertaining than talking about the Jets necessarily straight through for 2 hours. As he's got his coffee, Dave doesn't drink coffee. I have mine as well. We say good morning, Winnipeg. Good morning, Manitoba. For all those joining us live this morning on our YouTube channel and all of our social media platforms, we say good morning, universe, and welcome to the Illegal Curve Hockey Show. Yes, Joe from Winnipeg. Sausage Fingers Mindell would also be appropriate.
It's never been more appropriate.
In fact, it's very true. It has never been more appropriate. The fun will be Wednesday morning. So we'll talk about that. But Wednesday morning is when the shopping spree will take place. I know everybody's been waiting with bated breath for a confirmed date and time on that front. But yes, it is going to be on Wednesday morning when that happens. Gentlemen, great to see you. Another Saturday, another 2 Jets games in a very short period of span. Another weekend where the team is still hanging on by dear life for the, you know, a sniff of the playoff spot. 5 points back now after Thursday's loss, which was not as damaging as the Jets, you know, could have been for the Jets, but 5 points back. Weekend sets in Pittsburgh and against the Rangers. I mean, we know that time is running short regardless, but really it's you know, another weekend and another close call for the Winnipeg Jets.
Good morning, boys. Good morning to the chat. Yes, the Jets play the Penguins today at noon, and then if you wanted all of the teams that the Jets are chasing to be playing this afternoon, Dave and Drew, then today is your day, because every single team that the Jets are trailing are playing. You've got the Sabres and the Kings playing. You've got the Golden Knights and the Predators playing at 1 o'clock. The Sabres Kings is at 3 o'clock. You've got the Flyers and the Sharks at 3 o'clock, and you've got the Kraken and the Blue Jackets at 4 o'clock. By the way, I wouldn't, if you're the Kraken, I wouldn't expect to beat the Blue Jackets, because nobody is beating the Blue Jackets these days. No. Just the best story maybe of the year, with Rick Bowness coming in and taking over.
Undefeated in regulation in their last 10. In the last 10 games, the Blue Jackets are.
Right, just incredible. As we all predicted, Drew. We all knew that was going to happen. Yeah. I mean, the Blue Jackets are an absolute wagon, right? Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I still maintain, I realize that, like, the Detroit Red Wings, Dave, are kind of on the cusp right now of making the playoffs, but with everything that happened with Johnny Gaudreau and his brother dying, obviously, I mean, it would just be such an amazing story, and obviously for Rick Bowness as well. So I'm secretly cheering for the Blue Jackets to make the playoffs, but
doesn't seem like it's that big of a secret. I'll be honest. I'm pretty sure you just told everybody that you're cheering for the Blue Jackets, which is fine. Sure. It doesn't need to be a secret, but you know, I like it anyways.
I just want to have our boy Aaron Portzline on the show again.
Well, to talk about a playoff team, that would be great for Aaron. It's been a long, long time since he had that opportunity to do so. But you're absolutely right, Ezzy. It's sort of it's a quirky schedule in that everybody that's in the, you know, allegedly still in the Western Conference playoff race is doing battle this afternoon, and then at night, you know, the games are focused more on some of the Eastern Conference teams and those races. Very unique the way that shook out, but that's fun nonetheless. The Jets, as we talked about, they had a very disappointing performance in Boston on Thursday night. You know, there was opportunity for the Jets early on in that game, and that opportunity was squandered, and then they started to play sloppy, and you can't play sloppy against good hockey teams, against hockey teams that are better than you. And oh, by the way, the Pittsburgh Penguins are certainly one of those better teams than you as well. They've been a great story this year. Nobody really expected them to be a playoff team after what looked like a number of down years, but it would be great. And they're right in the thick of it. They can't afford any loose games, any loose nights, any loose afternoons in terms of their performance. There are 6 teams battling for 5 playoff spots in the Eastern Conference, and they're separated by 1 point. So you know just how serious it is in the East when it comes to those playoff spots. Pittsburgh being one of those teams, the Jets cannot afford, Dave M, to have anything that resembles the game that they had on Thursday night in Boston against the Bruins.
No, you're absolutely right, Drew. And remember that Boston team had only lost 10 combined games at home, right? They had the least number of wins, losses, of any team in the NHL when it comes to their home barn. So, yeah, you're absolutely right. And Pittsburgh's another team, Ezzy, that they're very good. I mean, they're 4-3-3 in their last 10 games, which means they have 7 points in 7 of 10. And more importantly, they pumped the Colorado Avalanche. I think it was like 6-2 the other night. They lost in overtime their last game. I mean, this is a very good Penguins team. And as Drew says, it's not a team that's in cruise control. This is a team that has urgency on their mind because of those Columbus Blue Jackets, because of the New York Islanders, because of all the teams that are fighting for the 1 or 2 spots that are going to be available for all those teams. And the interesting thing, it's not a revelation, but it's amazing when you look at the disparity between the East and the West, right? Because I think the number 1 team in the Pacific wouldn't even be a playoff team in the East because of how good, it's been out there. So, I mean, this is certainly not a game where you can afford to have any lulls, because it's not a Penguins team that is they're gelling. They're playing well, and they're desperate for these points. So this better be a tight hockey game from the Winnipeg Jets perspective, because the latitude you had, I mean, I shouldn't say that, because to be honest with you, the Jets team should already be eliminated. But as I've said a number of times, all the other teams are bad. So all these things that should be the death knell of the Winnipeg Jets playoff hopes isn't, because the Kings lose, and then the Predators lose, and the Kraken lose, and the Sharks lose. So that's somewhat.
Well, the Predators won their last game.
Well, you know what I mean, though. Like they're just not. Nobody is establishing themselves as the.
Nobody has grabbed that opportunity for the last playoff spot. It's actually funny. If you look at the last 10 games for all the teams in the Western Conference playoff race, the Jets lead the pack, 5 wins, 3 losses, 2 overtime losses, 5-3-2. The Kings have the same 5-3-2 in their last 10. Then you look at San Jose.
So wouldn't that mean they co-lead, Drew?
Sure, yes, they co-lead. Thank you. The Sharks 4-4-2. The Predators 4-4-2. The Kraken 4-6. I mean, it is the definition of absolutely middling. Is what you're seeing in that Western Conference playoff race. It's not for the faint of heart. It's not for people who want to see a good team make the playoffs. Is really what it is. I mean, that none of these teams are going to have a sniff of it when it finally gets up against a better hockey team. Maybe they can miraculously win one of the one game in a best of 7 series. We all acknowledge that. We all acknowledge that a high draft pick is a desired outcome, probably more than losing in 5 games to the Colorado Avalanche, or 4 games to the Colorado Avalanche. The problem is the players don't acknowledge that, because they still like to get to the playoffs. The organization doesn't acknowledge that, because they want, you don't think True North desperately wants 2 home playoff games? Those are free money for the organization, and any organization, not just the Jets organization. Those are free money. You don't have to pay the players come playoff time, remember. So every dollar that you're generating in revenue with home playoff games is a big factor for your bottom line. That's why you'll never see the Jets embrace a full-on tear-down rebuild, because financially it's just too limiting. So, which, again, from a dollars and cents and a business perspective, that makes perfect sense. But here you are then with a whole bunch of teams in the Western Conference, none of them are any good. And yet we're, at the very least, from our perspective, what I like about it is it's continuing to generate interest, even as we're down to the real dog days of the season here.
Absolutely. And, to Dave's point about the Metro Division, Carolina obviously has first locked up. They're 10 points ahead of Pittsburgh. So Carolina is going to finish first in the Metro. But the interesting thing, Dave mentioned the Islanders. the Penguins can finish as high as second in their division in the Metro, or they could miss the playoffs, right? Like, so that's what's so interesting. And we've been talking about this really for most of the year, is how much better the Eastern Conference is, right? Like the fact that you can, pretty much say that, you're going to get home ice in the first round, but then not be comfortable enough to know that a team like the Islanders could catch you and you could fall out and it's the same thing in the other division, right? We talked about it, right? Like Buffalo right now is leading the division with 92 points, but they don't have that locked up with Tampa Bay 4 points back. And with Montreal at 84 points, you've got Boston at 84 points. So Montreal can finish as high as second, or they could also slip out of the playoffs entirely, right? So that's what's so interesting. I realize that, there's been a lot of talk about the playoff format this year, and I can hear that. I don't think, I don't think teams are necessarily being rewarded for how high they're finishing in their division and conference. But just getting back to this afternoon's game too, this Pittsburgh team, guys, obviously, we talked about Columbus. Pittsburgh's one of the best stories. Nobody expected Pittsburgh to be at the top of the Metro Division, or maybe the Penguins themselves did, but most people didn't.
Right.
And we've said it before, but Sidney Crosby, Evgeni Malkin, Chris Letang, Erik Karlsson, having these guys in the playoffs is always a good thing, right? Yes. So I'm excited for them to hopefully make the playoffs. Like to Dave's point, Pittsburgh has not at all wrapped it up. So that's why this is going to be an important game. The thing that I wanted
playoffs are always better. Sorry, Ezzy. The playoffs are always better when Sidney Crosby and Evgeni Malkin,
exactly.
Crosby especially, with all due respect to Malkin, he's a great player, but there's not the same level of affinity for him in Canada, or as there is for Sidney Crosby. But Sidney Crosby in the playoffs it just works. It makes sense. It has to be that way. That's what you want to see, is Sidney Crosby on the biggest stage playing the most important games, because he's still, even at this age, even at the age of 38 years old, turning 39 on August 7th, the second most famous person to be born on August 7th. That's why
Drew's birthday is August 7th.
Exactly. In case that wasn't obvious by my comment there. That's why, it's important to see Sidney Crosby come playoff time. Everybody will love to see that happen, to your point.
Yeah. And Dave, the fact that Crosby and Malkin in the back nine of their careers, this could be Malkin's last year, right? We'll talk to Seth Roorbach.
He's a free agent at the end of the season.
Yeah. And it's possibly he comes back for one more year, but when it comes to Crosby, he's in one of his last years. I would imagine, he's got a few years left. But the fact that these guys are producing at a point per game level, to me, it just speaks really and summarizes their whole careers. Like, these guys are both first ballot Hall of Famers. They've got all the Stanley Cups. Crosby's got the Olympic golds, the World Junior golds, everything like that. Like, I think it's just a nice story, because I think a lot of people thought, myself included, that this Penguins team was just going to kind of fade off into the night, these last few years, and Crosby and Malkin would still be doing their thing. I'd throw in Letang there as well. But one thing, Dave, I wanted to also mention is Erik Karlsson has really had a resurgence, right? Like, Karlsson at 35 years old, a lot of people kind of were writing him off. And, he's been, what has he got? 40 points, 50 points,
52 points in 63 games this year. He's been great for the, he's been great for the Penguins this year. He's been, after they acquired him from San Jose, I mean, you knew what he was still able to do for the most part, but he's really elevated his game back to, not the Erik Karlsson that we saw in Ottawa, for example.
No.
But, he's still, at this age and with this much tread on his tires, he's still a very impressive offensive threat on the back end for the Penguins. I mean, again, you love to see it. They're a very likable team for the most part. The Penguins are a team that, an average fan can get on with rooting for them. Let's move back to the Jets, though. And we saw a line juggling after Thursday's game, or in the third period of Thursday's game for the Jets. Here's how they started, just in case you missed that, in case you had turned the TV off early on Thursday, which I don't blame you. Of course, you turned the TV off, and then you turned the computer on to watch us for the post-game show, undoubtedly. But the third period started with Connor Scheifele and Velarde back together. Then it's where it got more interesting. Cole Perfetti, Adam Lowry, and Brad Lambert were a line. Isak Roseanne, Morgan Barron, and Alex Iafallo were a line. Again, interesting. Your fourth line was Nyquist and Taves still together, along with Cole Koepke. And then the defensemen were Morrissey and Salmonson, Samberg and DeMello, Fleury, who got benched, along with Jacob Bryson. We're expecting Neil Pionk to return to the Jets lineup for this morning or this afternoon's game in Pittsburgh. We'll see. There's no morning skate. We'll know for sure shortly after we sign off this morning on the
My guess is
Illegal Curve
Hayden
Hockey
Fleury
Show.
is the one that comes out.
I agree with you. Hayden Fleury seems the likely candidate to come out, given that he was benched on Thursday, and I would expect Jacob Bryson to move to the left side to play on the third pairing. Likely, I mean, it's to be determined if it's going to be with a DeMello or if it would be with a Salamonson or if it would be with a Pionk. I mean, there's options on the back end, but let's start with the forward group first. Given the 12 forward names I just read out, we know it's going to be those 12. There's nobody else extra. I guess theoretically the Jets could go 11-7, but that would be a surprise. But those are the 12 forwards, let's assume. Do you think that Scott Arniel goes back to how, the old regular, or do you think that what we saw in the third period in Boston might be how he starts today's game? Again, it was an optional skate yesterday, so that didn't provide any insight. And there's no morning skate today because the game is in about 3 hours' time.
Yeah, I think it's a really good question. And I tend to think that there's a chance that today's lines are what we saw towards the end of the game last game. And that's kind of what I'm leaning towards. And I think what you're getting is when Brad Lambert was elevated, right? You obviously got more speed on that line.
Sure.
And I think this is what you want to see, right? Like we've been talking about this, Dave, like it seems like for months now, because it is months now. And we've said, right, like let's use these we're down to 4. I can't believe we're down to 14 games, by the way, boys.
Yeah,
it's pretty crazy. I wanted to say 20 games, but we're down to 14 games. So you're running out of time, right? So you want to see Brad Lambert, for example, in a top 6 role. And Perfetti, we know his play has definitely improved, and he's been producing big time over the last month and a half, right? So I like the lines. Like Taves, I think has been good. The Taves, Nyquist, Koepke, that line is a little. I don't really know. That's like a little mishmash of a line, but that line's not the one.
Whoever Taves and Nyquist are with is going to be a mishmash of a line, but at least with that line, there's no question that is your fourth line. That is the line that should be getting the most minimal minutes. Now, it should have been that way for a long time now. I mean, again, errors have been made when it comes to the deployment of ice time. For whatever you want to say about the job Kevin Cheveldayoff has done, and whatever you want to say about the job that Scott Arniel has done, there's mistakes on both ends. I mean, overplaying Nyquist and Taves with whomever has been a continued mistake that Scott Arniel has made, in my humble opinion. With a line of Nyquist and Taves and Koepke, we know that's got to be your fourth line. That's got to be a Taves getting some key face-offs, some power play 2 time. I guess Nyquist gets power play 2 time as well. But you can't have them out there for 5-on-5 at any significant time frame. You got to go with the top 3 lines, however they are, aligned, assuming that it's similar to what I just said. That has to be where you're going to sort of lean on in the course of the game.
Yeah, and I want Dave to get in here too. One line too that I'd be curious to see if Arniel goes to is I'd like to see also at one point Barron centering Velarde and Perfetti, or Lambert and Velarde, regardless. Like I'd like to see that at some point. So I think that's something to keep an eye on, because obviously we've seen Morgan Barron elevated into a top 6 role lately as well, Dave. So yeah, I think these new lines, I think. Obviously against Boston, we didn't really see the fruits of these lines' labor, right, Dave? But I think based on kind of how the Jets have struggled to score offense in certain games, like you think of the Vancouver game at home or the Chicago game at home, right? I think Arniel knows that he's got to switch it up a little bit here.
Well, not only that, but I mean, you mentioned it already, Ezzy, and it's one philosophy we've been talking about. The fact of the matter is that while it's great that you could potentially make the playoffs for the reasons Drew illustrated earlier in the show, ultimately this remainder of the season is to determine that, Isak Rosen, what do you have in him? And you're not going to determine that, in my mind, by having him play alongside Jonathan Taves and Gustav Nyquist. I mean, it's just not doing him. It's doing him a disservice in terms of being able to truly evaluate the type of player that you've got. Because with all due respect, he didn't come in here to expect to be a driver of those two. And while I would suggest he's actually made the line a little bit better, ultimately it's just too much of an anchor to put around the kid's neck at this time of the year. So, especially as, look, these games aren't easy. So that's actually kind of a good thing for these prospects, is that you want to see how they elevate their play against a team like Boston, who, like I said, only had 10 combined losses at home, or against the Pittsburgh team that is desperate for these 2 points because they've got the Islanders and other teams breathing down their neck. So these aren't going to be easy games. So yeah, you ultimately, and for what it's worth, and again, we will have to evaluate this based on, we'll be off the air, unfortunately, but we'll, of course, keep it updated on illegalcurve.com. We'll have to watch morning skate. We'll have to see what sort of, how the line combos, as per Mike McIntyre, who is in Pittsburgh, what they'll be evaluated, what they'll be. So right now, the Jets have tweeted out that they're going to be the way they were to start the game last game. We'll see if they make the change, but I do like that idea.
Worth noting that the Jets themselves said it's just a projection. That
of course. Well, I said, that's why I said we have to watch warm up. We'll have to see a half an hour before the game starts, so around 11:30, to see exactly the way it's going to play out. But to me, ultimately, yes, you want to be able to evaluate Brad Lambert in a top 6 role, right? Exactly. That's what he is. Yep. If Brad Lambert is going to be a bona fide NHLer, it's not going to be in a bottom 6 role. Or, again, remember, I thought, a few years ago, if you recall, we used to talk about a top 9 and a bottom 3. Well, again, you need, because that's what you need. That's what you need to be able to have a team that's a team.
The problem is this year the Jets had a top 3 and a bottom 9.
That's a very good point. That is a very good point. But if you truly want to be a Stanley Cup contender, then that's what you need. You need 3 lines that can score and 1 line that can effectively check and occasionally put in the puck in the back of the net. And that's why I think if you want to evaluate Brad Lambert, that's the way you've got to do it. You got to do it with him in a higher elevated role. And I like the idea of Barron in the mix as well.
So hold on, Dave. Is the line? I forgot what the line was. Was the line at the end of the last game Barron, Iafallo, Rosean?
It was Barron. It was Rosean, Barron, and Iafallo. Yes, right.
I like that line.
I do too.
Yeah, I like sticking with these lines. I think there's a tendency, because of the success the Jets had on the homestand, the 8-game homestand, I think for Arniel to go back to want to default to Lowry, Perfetti, and Velarde. But we all know, guys, if we're talking about the ceiling for Brad Lambert, all due respect to Adam Lowry, I think he would admit this himself. He's not a second line center. So I think you got to give more talented players an elevated role right now, because this is the time. We talked about it. 14 games left. It's not a lot of time, right? They have to start making these evaluations now.
You got pumped 6-1 by the Boston Bruins on Thursday night
with those lines.
I'm saying this is the time to change things up. When you were down after 40 minutes, it makes sense to have gone to the blender for that third period. Did the Jets play better in that third period? For spurts, yes, but it's hard to actually say, to make any grand proclamations from it, because Boston, had a sizable lead. So naturally score effects are going to come into play, and Boston is going to, the Jets make sense that they would possess the puck a little bit more when you're up by that amount, Boston being up by that amount. But again, you have 14 games to go. You can't just keep trotting out the same lines that, again, you've lost a lot of your games over the last little bit. It's not like you've been dominant with the lines as they were. You've lost to the New York Rangers. You lost to the Anaheim Ducks. You lost to the Nashville Predators in a shootout, albeit. Yeah, you did beat the Avalanche, and yeah, you did beat the Blues, but most of those wins were not because of your offense. They were because of your goaltending. So this is the time. I'd argue it's too late at this point. They should have done this earlier. But now, with 14 to go, you absolutely have to try out new things after that loss to Boston on Thursday night. Perfetti, Lowry, Lambert, give it a shot. Why not? Generate some speed there. Lambert brings a lot of speed to that line. Rosean, Barron, Iafallo. Well, Rosean and Barron can move. Those guys can bring some speed to a line. The Jets have been slow all season long. Now you'd say, why is it taking until game 68 to finally come to grips with that you need more speed? And that's a justifiable question, but I guess better late than never. Let's see the speed that these new lines can, if they come to fruition, hopefully generate. If they don't come to fruition, well, then I don't know what the head coach is doing. So, that would be my counter to that.
Well, the reason why I think I agree with you so much, Drew, is because you only have these 12 forwards to work with. The Jets still, like big surprise,
Inexplicably.
the Jets didn't call up somebody, right? Which
Mhm.
we talked about last post-game show, Dave. We thought that the Jets were going to call somebody up before the road trip, and it never happened, and it hasn't happened. And so obviously, if someone gets injured, well, the Jets don't have an extra forward. They're going to have to call somebody up for the game against the Rangers, right? So you only have these 12 forwards. So it's, Arniel is rearranging the deck chairs on the Titanic right now, right? And I think the one line too I would like to see, the combination I'd like to see is Lambert up the middle with Velarde and Perfetti. I wouldn't mind seeing that. Like there's a lot, like the way I look at it, like Arniel should be changing these lines as much as possible just to see what he can get out of certain players with other players. That's what I would say.
I think the ship, I don't disagree with you, Ezzy, that Lambert up the middle would have been an interesting thing to see. I just think the organization has sort of given up on the idea that he's a centerman. I mean, that to me is what, if you play a guy at the NHL level on the wing, when you call him up and you say you're going to get runway, but it's, you immediately are slotting him on the wing. It's not like the Jets have a plethora of centermen that he can't usurp. You're making the determination that he is a winger. He is not a centerman at the NHL level based on your projections. Now, whether or not he's a winger at the NHL level, that is still to be determined as well. But I think the organization has heavily signaled, Dave, that Brad Lambert is not in their future as a centerman.
Yeah, I mean, that's their prerogative. I mean, they tried it, right? I mean, he went to Seattle of the WHL after, 14 games with the Moose, and they put him up the middle in Seattle. They tried him when he came back to the Moose the next year as a center, and then eventually, similar to what they did with Jack Roslovic. I mean, Roslovic played center he was a winger too, I think, at Ohio State. Isn't that where he went to college, Ezzy? I think.
Yes,
Roslovic?
because that's
Roslovic
went to Ohio State because he's a Columbus guy.
Yeah, that's right. So he
Don't
went
they
to
call
Ohio
it?
State.
Isn't that the one, Drew, that they call the Ohio State?
They do.
They do it for football. I don't know if they do it for hockey though. Do they?
No, they do it for everything, but then they lose, and everyone makes fun of them because they lost in the first round of the NCAA tournament on Thursday, and then they were making fun of somebody. I think it was Kenny the Jet Smith said that they shouldn't be called the Ohio State because they lost to, I forgot whatever team they lost to.
But you know who didn't lose? Kentucky, baby.
Did you see how the game ended?
Yeah,
I saw it because of your Twitter feed.
Okay, yeah. You don't think I was dying when I was watching that yesterday? Yesterday, my heart, that's happening at like 1:00 in the afternoon. My heart rate can't get that high that early on in the day. It's just not built for that. But to bank in a half-court three to send the game to overtime certainly did a number on me yesterday. Finish your thought, Dave.
I lost my thought. Where was I going with that? You guys sidetracked me with all the basketball talk. Anyways,
Sorry.
no, Lambert and
Well, we were
Roslovic.
talking about Lambert, and I think
I know.
Lambert,
Roslovic,
correct me if I'm wrong, Lambert played a little bit of center for the Moose this year, right? Like a few games.
Yeah. No. In fact, his last 2 games before his recall, I think he was playing up the middle. I think it was against Iowa. So, I mean, they've kind of flirted with it a little bit, but at this point, look, Chris is not wrong. Chris in the comments.
Well, Miami,
Ohio is what it is. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Miami, Ohio. Thank you, Ian Wilson. 957.
Right, it wasn't Ohio State. It was
You guys
Miami,
mean
Ohio.
That was Miami, Manitoba University?
He was a Red Hawk. That's right. There you go. So, but anyways, what it comes down to though is that as I saw in the chat, Chris said he's not been very good in the AHL, and that's true. He has not been very good at the AHL. But the truth also is that sometimes guys can excel at the NHL that don't do well in the AHL. It does happen occasionally. So what you want to see again. I mean, would you prefer that he does what Roseanne was doing at the AHL level, guys, and that's dominating and scoring 24, 25 goals for Rochester? Of course. And that's what Lambert did in his first year, where he had not dominating, but he had 21 goals and 50 points for the Manitoba Moose in his first full season with that team. So, like I said, at this point, you've got nothing to lose. You may as well evaluate him as best you can, put him in a position for the most success, and see what kind of player, and see if he can, sink or swim. And if he
give him 3 games, Dave. Give him 5 games. See, like I agree with Drew. The Jets organization, player development seems to prefer him at the NHL level as a winger. But to your point, like, isn't this the time to give him a little bit of runway as a centerman?
Well, that's why Jet Dog just echoed what I said, which is if Lambert is going to make it to the NHL, it will be as a center. That's his game. Let him sink or swim. Perfetti, Lambert, and Roseanne.
I mean, that's a real young gun line.
Well,
Yeah,
there'd be a lot of talent on that line, but
I don't think you're going to see that line until the Jets. First of all, I don't know that you're going to see that line, period. But I certainly don't think you're going to see that line until the Jets would be mathematically eliminated. I mean,
boys, that was like Kachuk, Zamanov, Davidov back in the day.
Nice reference there, Ezzy. I mean, that's where the Winnipeg Jets are at right now. Unfortunately, is they're still trying to win these games because there's still a path to the playoffs. I mean, the reality is there's a path to the playoffs, not because the Jets have been playing particularly good hockey, but as we talked about and as we discussed earlier when we started the program, because everybody else around them is so lousy. So that's why there is a path still to the playoffs. This is a special guest. I remember a day and time where Andrew Hustler Patterson would not be awake at 9:32 in the morning.
That was yesterday.
Well, I don't know if that was necessarily yesterday. I was going to say, as we all get older, we all wake up a little bit earlier, then we take naps. But there was a time when you wouldn't even considered waking up at 9:30 in the morning. This must be sort of like a flashback to an old H&L day where you would start, with a Jets game at noon and you guys would have to be up and on air at 9 a.m. And I think Gary's yelling for Toy to start his car or something right now.
Great reference. Yes, good morning, guys. That time was last Saturday, will be next Saturday. Ezzy gave me the ultimatum. Are you in or are you in the way? I'm like, all right, Ez, you did it. No, it had been a minute since I'd been on with you guys, and I figured, to your point, yesterday was not a 9:30 a.m. game because we actually had a good day on Thursday. We went out to Gimli, and then the Jets did a great job of putting on that town takeover. Unfortunately, the game itself, it was a good thing everything else was going on because the main event on the screens wasn't quite what everyone wanted to, but I was out a bit late. But yeah, normally I might be out later on Friday and I catch the replay of a legal curve, but it's good to be on live. Kind of a weird weekend with a noon game and then 11 a.m. tomorrow. So may have to change things up a little bit to make sure we're there for puck drop.
It's impossible to have your game face on at 11 a.m. It's the most wild puck drop. I mean, I can't remember an earlier puck drop. Maybe there was an 11:30 back in the day. I know it's Eastern time. So
they played an early game against Philadelphia years ago.
Yeah, but I think even that was 11:30 Central, right. Not 11 Central. It's going to be weird tomorrow.
True, it's just going back to their AHL days of these school day games playing at 10:30 in the morning.
There you go. Yeah, you can appreciate those, Dave Adam. That's for sure. Huss, good morning. Thank you for joining us. We were talking about the rejigged lines for the third period in Boston, and that I think there's a consensus among the three of us that we would like to see those lines continue for today, that going back to what you started with in Boston would not be a benefit for the Winnipeg Jets. Is this the time? I mean, you got 14 games to go at this point. You're still on the fringes, but largely because the teams ahead of you haven't been playing that well. But now is the time, from our perspective, and do you agree or disagree? It's the time to sort of change things up and see what you can see if you can juice your lineup a little bit with some of the youth.
100%. I mean, it's been a common theme on our Jets convos over the last really few weeks, to be honest with you. I mean, we're not really at a new point. It's just becoming a lot more official and a lot more clear as to what the fate of the team is going to be. And yeah, I'm absolutely with you guys. I think these rest of the games, with this team not being in the playoffs, you need to get everything that you can out of the final, 14 games on the season.
Yeah.
And in particular, I did like where you guys were going with the discussion on the center topic. Like, it is going to be incredibly difficult. And I know we all think that, oh, well, you know what? They've got this need. We'll just go out. Free agency isn't really an option for legitimate top players. And with the fact that everyone's signed already, this went from being a potentially massive free agent class to pretty lean. Like, someone's going to pay a ton for like Charlie Coyle this year. I'd take the guy. I mean, he'd be a big upgrade on what they have. But again, that's just not usually the way the Jets are able to supplement their roster. Listen, it hasn't. I mean, Adam Lowry on any contending team is not your second center. And obviously, we know that Jonathan Taves was the hope, and that just didn't plan out. So they got to figure that out for next year. If it's not free agency, you're looking at trades. And I don't need to tell you guys, I think a lot of people maybe kind of gloss over the fact that you want to go out and acquire a second line center. The cost is prohibitive. And the Jets are at a position where they're not sitting here, having struggled for a few years and having a huge prospect pool. And Dave can speak to, what's coming out of the Moose better than I can right now. So you have to do everything you can at this last little bit to at least find out whether these players in the middle could be an option. So if it's Brad Lambert, great. If it's Perfetti, absolutely. Gabe Velarde's another guy that's played center in the past. I mean, I do think they need to kind of get out of where they have been with these players pegged in and try a few things. Now, I don't know whether that's going to happen this weekend. I kind of get the feeling from Arnie, and we could talk a little bit about what we've been hearing from Arnie lately, that
frustration.
This is going to be the case until there's like an E beside their name.
Mm-hmm.
And to be honest, being actually eliminated, officially and realistically eliminated are very different in this point standings. But I would think that by the time we get back, or by the time your show is on next week at this time, I would imagine that we will be in that spot. But as far as what happened yesterday, I mean, yeah, like both Rosine and Lambert probably are the two key players that I think we'd love to see more of and see how they might fit. The experience that they'll be getting in games will help them next year, and that's good. Like, I don't need to see a shift more of Gus Nyquist this year.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, whatever.
No, let's call him by his actual name, NyQuil.
Yes, NyQuil. I slid that in a few times. But listen, I mean, we know that he will not be back. We had Greg, I was with Greg from Royal watching the game the other day, and he goes, no, you know what? And he was trying to play the team is going to go on a run. He goes, Nyquist is going to be back next year because he's scoring 10 goals in the playoffs. And we're laughing. And I said, dude, I'm not sure he'd be back if he won the Conn Smythe this year. But yeah, like, I mean, the young players for sure a little bit more. I know everyone wants to see the top line, how that looks differently. I mean, there's some options to Scott Arniel and that he'll have moving forward, even if there's been maybe a little bit of a stubbornness to move to that right now because of maybe the message that it sends to everyone, but we're not dumb. I mean, we've watched this team all year long to get to this point.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the fear of some people, though, guys, is that, well, what happens if it really works? I mean, they've done this operation to get to the point where you've got the chance of a really high draft pick doing it one way all year. Do you want to get away from that if you're thinking about, like, there's two ways to look at it. I don't think anything's turning around anytime soon. I'm not expecting this team to go on a 8 or 9 game winning streak. So if that's not going to happen, make the most of these final few games. Get a look at a couple more guys down with the Manitoba Moose. Get Bauer up here. Let's see if he can play. And certainly, I hope he plays the home games because that'll be worth the price of admission alone. And, and try and get a little bit more clarity on what you have at your disposal going into, in my opinion, a crucial offseason for the team.
For sure. And Huss, talking about players that are making the most of these last games, like I heard you guys talking about Gabe Velarde yesterday, and obviously he got robbed a couple times by Jeremy Swayman in that 6-1 loss, but Velarde on pace for a career year in points, right? He's only 5 points away from tying 61 points, his career high from last year. He only needs one more goal to tie his career high in goals. Like, we just keep talking about how impressive he's been, and he's gone from kind of a complimentary player on that line with Scheifele and Connor to a driver, and that's obviously why Arniel has used him there on the second line with Perfetti and Lowry.
Yeah, I can't say enough about the season that Velarde's had, and it's sort of sad that it's been lost in some ways amongst just the disappointment of the team overall. And everyone talks about Scheifele and Connor, and Scheifele obviously offensively is having his best season ever, which again, you would think that it might result into some more wins for the team. But specifically talking about Velarde, he has turned into a reliable, dynamic, consistent player that gives the Winnipeg Jets something that they simply don't have in most other guys in the roster. I mean, he's an absolute beast down low. He changes the power play, and he's also got a bit of bite to him. I mean, not necessarily, the most physical or toughest player, but he can bang. He'll be in there.
He's a big man.
And there's a reason why those guys love playing with him. Not only can he finish, but of the three, he's the one that'll be in. He'll win the puck battles. He'll get it to those guys and then go into places where you got to score. And he's a smart player. He knows where most of the goals happen in the National Hockey League, and he's not afraid to get in there. And they need a few more players like that. And then the other thing that I love about Velarde is, listening to him speak, particularly after games. Sometimes they're legitimately funny. He doesn't handle dumb questions well, or he'll clarify, like, wait, what are you asking me? That sort of thing. But he's got a bit of an edge, but you can tell, and I want to see this from our players, like guys that aren't satisfied and aren't particularly happy with where things are, even though he personally is having a great season individually.
Well, that's we're focusing on some positivity this morning and some individual play that has been notable and worthy of mention. Velarde for sure on that list. The other guy that, again, injury forced the Jets' hand to give him this shot, but he is, I think, taking it and run with it, is Elias Salamonson. So what have you seen from him in, I think, the 24 games that he's now played with the Jets this season?
Yeah, no, dude, he's been as advertised, maybe better, and just seems to get better and more confident each and every game. Now, for the record, I know people will say, oh, he was never, ever going to get up here. I don't really think that is the case. I think they wanted him to play a ton early on with the Moose, and I do think that the plan was to have him. Now, would he have been in a top 4 role playing with Dylan Sandberg? No way. But, much like Josh Morrissey when he originally came in, it was a situation that opened it up, and then you realize, holy smokes, this guy's just too good not to play lower down in the lineup. And listen, for me, the sooner the better with players like that. Listen, especially on the right side, been looking for a long time for another option, shall we say, in that top 4. People have their opinions on Dylan DeMello. He's been a pretty reliable guy, but he's not a dynamic player. And I would love to see someone that brings a little bit more to the table to be with Josh. Now, whether that's going to be Elias next season, I don't know. I think long-term it could be, assuming that he's around. But for a player to come in his debut year in the NHL and to play with that sort of confidence, consistency, I'm sure we can go through some of the analytic numbers. Like, it's not like Neil Pionk is a guy they invested a lot of money in, and he's been here for a long time. They count on him for a lot. Like, I don't see that pairing taking a big drop off right now that Pionk's been out. In fact, I think Elias Salmonson has opened the eyes that, he might be capable of even more there. But I think he's really fit with Sandberg really well. Let's face it, there's a lot of issues with this team. That pairing and Elias Salmonson is literally the least of their worries right now.
Right. No question about it. Hustler Rama, Andrew, whatever the hell your name is joining us here on the Illegal Curve Hockey Show on this Saturday morning. And Hustler, you mentioned...
Should I play the theme music? At one point, Huss and I considered, when we were at 1290, we considered an offshoot show called G's and Hustlers, and we had our theme music, Snoop Dogg, obviously, G's and Hustlers. We can play it right now, Drew, if you want.
We can't, actually, because we're on YouTube and we would get a strike. So you cannot, in fact, do that. But
we don't want to. Oh no, we don't, Huss. We don't want to strike.
Well, you can hum it. If you want to hum it, you can go ahead and hum it.
There you go.
Feel free to do that. You were mentioned Scott Arniel and some of his pointed comments, I would say, over the last number of games and number of weeks. Some of them about roster management, some of them about the options he has available to them, some of them about the performance of the players themselves after he has, maybe instructed them to do certain things and they haven't been done. Your thoughts on the future for the Winnipeg Jets head coach? I don't think that the bridge hasn't been destroyed or anything, but I think the water underneath the bridge might be a little bit murky and oily and need a little bit of rehabilitation this offseason.
Well, okay, so there's two sides to this. First off, obviously it's been a really disappointing season. I mean, if we put together Arnie's greatest hits at the end of this year with some of these post games after some of these losses,
yeah, I
mean, I was legitimately shocked when he snapped back to whoever was asking him about an issue, personnel. I mean,
that's a shot across Kevin Cheveldayoff's bow.
Listen, it can be either the guys that that could certainly be interpreted that way.
Mm-hmm.
And then, I mean, this game yesterday or Thursday night, to just sort of matter of factly say, well, we just lost our level of compete. And I mean, like, those are things that, I mean, you don't hear very often. If coaches are saying that enough, they probably don't get the opportunity to do it before. Now, for the most part, I will say this, as bad as the season's been, I'll give them credit. I mean, I haven't seen them quit on their coach.
Right.
And I think that's something that he can lean on and be proud on. I mean, there was every reason at times when things were going terribly to just, fall completely off of it. Now, at the same point, I look at the coaching and go, how the hell does your team show up for the Anaheim game a couple of weeks ago with the performance like that, considering the circumstances they were in, and then follow that up with another kind of very mid game against a Rangers team when you found a way to lose. Mm-hmm. But when it comes down to it, like, obviously Arnie earned it. He's got a lot of juice, within this organization, been here through the Bones days, took over, and last year led the team to their best season ever. But this is the National Hockey League. And if you have a season where your performance is so off of what the expectations are, usually there's some things that change. And unfortunately for coaches, usually the easiest thing to change is the coach, because you can't change the whole team. Now, I'm sure people in the chat and Jet fans would say, even if they feel that coaching was an issue, we all agree that the roster and, some of the whiffs that the team made on the additions this year really, really did hold them back.
Mm-hmm.
But to me, I think for this team, everything needs to be on the table. And that includes a review of the coaching staff, a review what's going on at the American Hockey League level. I'm sure they're doing evaluation of scouting and all of that, because we all know how this team got to be a contender. It was drafting well. It was hitting on their picks. It was having these guys turn into it, because that's the way Winnipeg needs to do it, frankly. I mean, there's some things that aren't available to the Winnipeg Jets on a level that most other teams or many other teams in other spots are, and you have to find a way around it. And they did that well for a while, but right now they're paying the price for the whiff of Vesalainen and Lucius and some of the trades that they made. And, that's certainly not the coach's fault. But at the same point, when you go from a President's Trophy to 24th or 25th overall, it's pretty clear that some things need to change. So I don't know. I asked Ken yesterday on the show what he thought about the coaching situation and the chances that the coaching staff would be back. And he talked for 7 minutes, and I'm still not entirely sure where we ended up on this one. But I would say that it's certainly a non-zero. Like, if the over-under is 50-50 that he's back, I mean, I think you can, I'll say maybe it's a higher percentage he's likely back, or maybe a little bit less. But I think we're kind of talking about that sort of window, and it's certainly not a knock on Scott Arniel. I mean,
well, to that effect, do these last 14 is he coaching for his job for these last 14 games in some respect?
See, I don't know on that. Like, I tried to ask Ken, like, what's at stake? Like, what is at stake right now moving forward? Like in these final few games, like, So what? They go 10-4 and miss the playoffs by 3 or 4. Is that going to save the job? Frankly, what it doesn't. Like, I think they need to come to peace with where they are right now. Make some of those moves, call up some of those guys, because we all know what the worst case scenario is for this team. To finally get your act together when the season's over and turn a pick that might be 5 or 6 or 7 into 12 or 13. And guys, it won't take much. I mean, if you look at the standings right now, there are 7 teams between 70 and 72 points, or at least going in. Like, legitimately, if you rattled off 6 in a row, you're probably still not making the playoffs, but you could go from like 6th to 13th in the order. And I mean, that's important. Like, we focus in on you have this much odds to win the draft lottery. Everyone's got a chance. That's great. There's only 2 teams that are getting it. Where you're slotted at the beginning before they pick the balls is huge, because, like, let's assume the worst. You finish 5th last, 2 teams behind you get it. Boom, you move back to 7th. That's the worst you could be. Like, you move to 11th or 12th, your chances of getting the first pick goes way down, and second. But more importantly, you can't move up enough. And more likely you're going to be picking outside of the top 10. So I know we've talked a lot about and it isn't tanking. Like, as I say what you want. I mean, look at their record right now. They've done that on their own all year. To me, you have to be less worried about the 2 points and more about what you can get about the, out of the roster right now, and look at a few guys at the end. And if you lose, there hopefully is a purpose that helps the team in the future, because right now, unfortunately, isn't the Winnipeg Jets time.
Huss, I agree with you 100% when you mentioned everything should be on the table, considering that the Jets went from a President's Trophy winning team to a team that's going to most likely miss the playoffs, and a full evaluation needs to continue to happen. Obviously, we hope it's already happening. I don't think they're just going to, start evaluating like a month from now after the season's over. But I want to ask you you mentioned some of the trades the Jets have made. I want to ask you about that. Then I want to get to your burger from Carlos Kachina in Gimli, because you were talking about that a lot on Winnipeg. I'll be honest with you, Huss, when you were talking about it on the show yesterday, I kind of wanted to get in my car and just drive to Gimli and try that burger out. So,
did you bowl at the same time, Huss, when you were there?
No, to be honest, they brought it in for us. Like, we were setting up to do the show at Judd's. Yeah, the mayor came by, greeted us, and said, "You know what? We're going to bring you guys some lunch. Do you want fish or burgers?" And I'm like, I mean, obviously, love fish. They have incredible fish there.
Beach Boys open. You could have had some good Gimli pickerel.
Well, but the choice was the burger, and then I remembered that and I've heard a lot about this place. I mean, I think they won the burger week.
You've never been before?
No, because I'm usually on the other side of the lake, and I'll come over or get up there at weird times.
Yeah.
And usually not necessarily during the day. So long story short, they brought them in. It was the Jets takeover burger, and he did it up, I think, maybe just for this week because they were having this event. It was legit up there with the best burgers I've ever had.
Yeah,
double smash, bacon, Swiss cheese.
Oh yeah,
and it was like a blueberry compote jam with like a sriracha. So it was like a little bit of a sweet heat on it. But the bottom line, you could have even taken that off. Like the base of this burger, the ingredients, the bun, like legit 10 out of 10. I understand what all the hype was around Burger Week when they were killing it. Okay, what was the other thing you were asking about?
I completely forgot, because I could listen to you talk about compote all day long. No, I wanted to ask you about the 2 new guys that are in the lineup that were acquired in the Stanley Shen trade, Jacob Bryson, obviously, and Isak Rosean, my favorite name in history to pronounce, with that accent aigu. What have you thought of those 2 guys? Because obviously they're not tearing it up offensively or anything like that, but to me, they look like guys that could definitely factor into the Jets' plans next year.
Yeah, well, I mean, starting off with Roseanne, who obviously was the key piece coming in. I like his speed. I mean, there's been some times where he's kind of found his way to get an opportunity or two. Obviously, he had that deflection in for his first goal. But I have a really hard time kind of saying, okay, he's got it. Like, he's playing right now with Taves and Nyquist. I mean, this player,
Mm-hmm.
it's one of the more puzzling choices. And I mean, I don't know whether this is just deferring respect to those veterans that, hey, this is a guy, young player coming in, we want to play. I guess I don't really have any other reasons, because he's a player that has big time speed. That is not the calling card of that line at this point. So he's looked good on the power play at times. So listen, I think I'm cautiously optimistic that he's going to bring something to this team and can be a contributor next year. But this is another thing that I want to see. Like, can we please get him playing with, a few of the other guys? Hell, put him on Scheifele and Connor's wing for a game for a little bit. Like, is that so crazy to think about?
I don't think so.
Because even Adam Lowry, like, I still don't think that 2C is there for next year, or at least ideally that would be, or stick him on a kid line. Brad Lambert, like you were said, throw him in the middle. Cole Perfetti. Like, let's see a little bit more on some places. Like, it's like bringing in a top, a big tough guy, a grinder, and sticking on the top line. Well, it's not really where he's probably going to fit or play in the NHL. So why are we doing that? So kind of that's one of the top of my list changes that I would make. I'd like to see him with some different players. Bryson's interesting. Like, I'll be honest, I kind of had just assumed that when that trade was made, he was sort of a roster throw-in. They needed a spot. We'll bring this guy in. It's not like the Jets were scouring the league for another 5'9" defenseman. but I will say he hasn't been bad. I mean, like, of the Bryson Fleury pairing, I got a lot more time for Bryson as of late than Fleury, despite the fact that I know he did score that goal, and seemed like Arnie had felt the same way by
Hayden had Fleury a rough night in Boston, Huss.
Yeah. I mean, we could know what Fleury is. Bryson, I guess, is out there. But if you're asking me, hey, do you think he'll be around next year? Like, will they re-sign him in the offseason and try and keep him in the mix? I'm probably not there yet, but like, when we first traded him, I didn't know where he'd even play. I thought it was sort of like, okay, you got to take this guy. We're getting these guys off the roster. So there have been some things that I've actually really liked about him. But if the Jet defense core is going to be taking a big step forward next year, not sure. I mean, could he be a seventh defenseman or so? Maybe. But, I mean, he's got NHL experience. He can play at this level. I'm just not sure that the fit is exactly what they're looking for long term. But I've had some I've got time for him, and, he'll get a lot more time. Like, I know there's people that'll say, oh, we got to play Ville Heinola. Dude, the Ville Heinola ship is sailed. He's going to be a free agent. Like, it does the team no good. Like, as much as individually for the player, you might say, hey, he deserves it. If you're thinking about Winnipeg Jets 26-27, play that guy, play a couple guys from the Moose if you want, Bauer, whatever. That can help next year. Ville is going somewhere else in the summer. Like, there is not a single possibility I could see that him, even if the Jets were really aggressive trying to sign him,
why would they be?
He's looking for a fresh start.
Yeah, I mean, as soon as they chose not to play him sufficiently to keep him as an RFA and allowed him to become a Group 6 free agent, and the writing was on the wall with Ville. But, Huss, actually, I'm going to ask you about a guy who actually once upon a time did become a Group 6 free agent, Eric Comrie, because the Jets didn't play him enough. And so the question for, and I agree with your assessment, by this time next week, when we're doing next week's show, we'll have a much clearer picture. But we're already kind of into the future casting, thinking about this Winnipeg Jets team. Oh,
listen, I think the picture is very clear to all of us.
I know you do.
It'll be
I know you do.
Clear enough to the folks that are making the decisions that it won't be the same thing as we're going to see today in Pittsburgh.
No, absolutely. I agree. But the question I have for you, though, in terms of the goaltending, in terms of Eric Comrie, I mean, he's a free agent after this year. So how do you see that sort of playing out? Do you see them bringing him back? Thomas Milic is having a fantastic season with the Moose. My concern with him, though, is not can he be a backup? It's if Connor Hellebuck goes down, can he be a starter? And without a lot of NHL experience, would the Jets risk that? So how do you kind of see that playing out next year?
Listen, I mean, Comrie's such an easy guy to cheer for. I mean, as you guys know, the most fun guy to talk to. Guys played really well. I mean, obviously, during that period that Hellebuck was out on that losing streak, it was a tough time for him. And there's a game or two that oh, maybe he can hang on the goaltending. But overall, I think he's acquitted himself real well. And once he's gotten back to the backup position, he's been great, especially in the second half of the season. So I got a lot of time for Comrie. I think it makes a lot of sense probably to bring him back. I mean, first and foremost, he and Hellebuyck love each other. I mean, he seems to be a great yin to the yang of a guy that is going to be playing the majority of it. If Eric Comrie wasn't around, I mean, I still think they need to sign another veteran goaltender. I mean, DiVincentis and Milic both have a lot of promise, but can we think one of those guys could be the regular backup? And as to your point, Dave, if Hellebuyck goes down, like that be the pairing, to me, maybe that's a little too soon. And the goalies are just different than all of those, the other positions. I mean, like you think of Sebastian Cossa, I mean, a first rounder, everyone knew he was going to be great. He's still in Grand Rapids. Yep. Kicking ass, doing great. And maybe next year he gets in. But I think I'll say this. I would be very surprised if Eric Comrie's not back next year. And
why wouldn't he, right? Like I have no reason why. Like all of your points, I agree with Huss. Like, and his numbers have been incredible in his last 4 or 5 starts.
Yeah, and overall, just during his time here, like he's been a really, really solid backup for Winnipeg. It seems to be the fit is great. He, what else does a backup goaltender bring to a team other than when they're playing? I mean, his presence in the room and part of the group. You want to talk about the culture of the team. I mean, he's a huge positive. So he brings a lot to the organization. I think there's going to be some big time changes with this team. I don't think the goaltending situation is going to be one of the areas that I think they can just rinse and repeat.
And if he doesn't come back, and we'd all be surprised about that, don't worry, folks. Laurent Brossoit is also a UFA, so they can just bring him back in place of Eric Comrie.
What do you think happens to LB next year? Because, I mean, listen, he signed that bigger deal with Chicago, literally never played until just this last little bit when he finally got in. And I'll be honest, I was watching a Sharks game.
He got let up, didn't
he? Yeah, that was the game we were doing the live coverage of because I think it was San Jose Edmonton. And it was during a post-game show, so we were keeping track of for the out-of-town scoreboard.
That's exactly what the game is, and they were going in early and often. Yeah. So, I mean, the crazy thing for LB is that, and it's a good thing that he did earn that contract. Sucks for him; he wasn't really able to play on it, but he's back to where he was before. I mean,
when the Jets got him from Edmonton,
he's going to be needing to prove himself. He's going to probably be needing to be open to potentially play at some point in the American League to do it. Now, if he can go in training camp and show, hey, I'm ready and I'm the guy and win a job, great. But if he wants to be in the NHL, I think he's going to have to look for his best opportunity and go and earn it. I don't think there's going to be like a guaranteed $2 million on the table to be a guy that, hey, we got 30 starts for you, no problem, and maybe more.
Yeah, agreed wholeheartedly. Like you said, the backup goalie situation for the Winnipeg Jets is the least of a long list of concerns, which of course starts with the number 2 center that will be the ongoing topic as it has been for year upon year upon year upon year upon year here in Winnipeg. Hustler, it's been great catching up with you, buddy. Thank you for this. We appreciate you waking up nice and early. Go get a little nappy poo in before puck drop in a couple hours. We'll see you on Monday on WST.
Well, the thing is, I knew I was coming on, so I did not go out like a maniac last night. I'm rested, ready for the weekend, ready for this noon game. And I might even put you guys on the phone, listen to the last hour, and dive in for a little Sal's breakfast before the game. It's all going to work out well.
You've been on with us for 35 minutes. It's probably the longest you've gone without vaping in a while.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, Drew, what are you talking about?
Huss, by the way, can you pick me up a dozen coconut donuts from Salisbury House? Those coconut donuts, man, they get me every time.
Only as he would ask for one, not one or two, but a dozen.
A dozen, yeah.
And Huss, by the way, you said
cake too, maybe a pie,
a wafer pie or something.
Yeah. Huss and I have had many conversations about Salisbury House. Huss, you mentioned you didn't go out last night, but the weather's getting nicer, so we got to go out for some bevies, hit up a patio real soon, because it's been too long that Huss and IC have gotten together. We're going to have our Boston Pizza watch party on April 14th, so hopefully you guys can come to that. But we're definitely going to be
Taylor,
BP Taylor. Yeah,
right on.
It's the last regular season road game of the year, which is probably means it's the last road game of the year.
That's perfect. That's going to be funeral week of the season. we're gonna bury the 25-26 season and move on to the playoffs as well. Let me know what a playoff pool too is if you're doing that this year.
Oh yeah,
Richie's going. Reach out to Richie. He's looking for slots for his playoff pool.
Maybe Huss. Maybe we'll enter a team together. We've never collaborated.
As long as you have no say in the picks, so sounds good.
And in related news, can you lend Ezzy $100 for the pool?
Yeah, exactly. Listen, do you want me to put your name on my entry as? No problem.
Yeah.
Boys, have a good weekend.
I really want to win that
buddy.
marble race, Huss. Thank you.
Yeah. Bye, Huss. Thanks, buddy. There he goes. That was fun. Hustler joining us this morning on the Illegal Curve Hockey Show. We're way over the first hour. We'll go to break. We'll come back. Seth Roorbach is going to join us at bottom of hour number 2 to talk about the Penguins. Much more to come. Drew Mindell, Dave Minuk, Ezra Ginsburg. It's the Illegal Curve Hockey Show presented by our friends at Play Now.
I want to thank you for not betting with Play Now and choosing our illegal gambling site instead.
Because we couldn't afford things like this without your money. So much of your money. Now you might have questions like,
do our profits benefit your community?
no. Or bet with Play Now, Manitoba's local legal and secure gambling site.
Dining, entertainment, parking, and convenience, all in one spot. City Place is located in the heart of downtown Winnipeg, attached to the Canada Life Center. Whether you're working, living, or out for a night in the downtown, make City Place your go-to destination before or after the fun finds you. Lunchtime, game time, anytime. Visit City Place at 333 St. Mary Avenue, next to Canada Life Center.
Boys, I've made an important life decision, and I need your support.
Oh boy.
I've decided to get a grill.
You mean a barbecue grill for cooking? Like, that's not an important life decision, Ezzy.
No. A grill for my teeth.
A grill for your teeth? Do I even want to know why you're doing this?
It's simple, really. Every time I go to Holt Dental, I get treated so very well by Dr. John and his team that I need to keep finding additional reasons to go back. I rely on Holt Dental for all of my dental needs, and they do it all, from regular cleanings to cosmetic dentistry. Plus, they have free parking at their front door, and you know how much I love my convenient parking.
For all your dental needs, Illegal Curve recommends Holt Dental, conveniently located on Taylor Avenue near Grant Park Mall. For more information, visit them online at holtdental.ca. For over 40 years, Rumors Restaurant and Comedy Club has been Winnipeg's home for stand-up comedy. Renowned in the comedy world as a must-play venue, Rumors has recently been named Canada's top comedy club and a top 5 comedy club in North America. From birthday parties to date nights to fundraisers, wedding socials, and everything in between, Rumors is your destination for the best live entertainment Winnipeg has to offer. For information on upcoming shows, Rumors' incredible promotions, and to purchase show tickets, visit rumorscomedyclub.com.
Hey Winnipeg, Joe Carter here. I look forward to joining you in Winnipeg on June 4th for the Ray D. JCC Ken Cronson Sports Dinner. See you in June. Don't be late.
At Boston Pizza, a fast lunch doesn't have to mean fast food. Now you can get a $15 lunch served in just 20 minutes, including your choice of a main, side, and drink. That's right, lunch for $15 at your local Boston Pizza.
Welcome back to the Illegal Curve Hockey Show. 10 minutes after the top of the hour, we went commercial free for hour number 1. That's how we do it here on the program. Big thanks to our friends at Play Now. They're the title sponsor of all of our shows. Sign up for Play Now and get a $20 lottery welcome bonus. Play Now is Manitoba's local, legal, and secure gambling site and the official betting partner of the Winnipeg Jets. Conditions apply. 18 plus. Enjoy responsibly. Big thanks to our friends at Play Now for their support. The Jets and the Pittsburgh Penguins will do battle in less than 2 hours' time. Seth Roorbach is going to join us. He's, of course, with the Pittsburgh Tribune Review. He's going to join us in about 20 minutes to talk about the resurgent Pittsburgh Penguins and the season that they've been having as the Jets look to upset them and boister their playoff chances, as slim as they may be. Let's assume, we talked about the forwards earlier on, and we think there's going to be a rejigging of forward lines. Assuming that Neil Pionk is back in the lineup today, and I think we can sort of assume that it's a safe bet. It's all signs point to Neil Pionk being back in the lineup for the Winnipeg Jets. Where would you deploy, how would you deploy the 6th defenseman for the Winnipeg Jets? And the third pairing left side defenseman can be, it can be Fleury, it can be Bryson, it can be Heinola, theoretically. Less important about the third pairing left side. Most sort of the right side. How are you deploying your right side, and who's slotting in with Samberg and who's slotting in with Morrissey? Are you immediately going back to Samberg and Pionk, because Pionk is back in the lineup, or are you thinking things a little bit outside the box for today's game in Pittsburgh?
Yeah, it's kind of hard to tell, to be honest with you, Drew, because what's happened, I think, with the emergence of Elias Salamonson is it's pushed others kind of down the depth chart, even now the Jets are healthy and back in the lineup, right? Like, I think that there's a serious discussion to be made or to have about Salamonson, and is he now your best right side defenseman? I realize that some people might think that's ridiculous, but like he's looked good with Morrissey on that top pair, right? So I'm not sure if Pionk goes back on the third pair, and then maybe the third pair is Bryson and Pionk. Like you said, Drew, Bryson was playing on the right side, even though he's a left shot. So my best guess, if we're going over the D line combinations, the D pairs, I would say is if Neil Pionk's playing, then most likely you're going to see Bryson and you're going to see Salamonson, and then you'll go to Samberg, Pionk, and then you'll just have Morrissey up with DeMello. But I wouldn't be at all surprised if you see Salamonson up with Morrissey, and then you see Salamonson with Samberg, because that pair's worked really well together, Dave. And I wouldn't be surprised if Pionk starts off on the third pair with Jacob Bryson, right? Like, so I mean, these are all good problems to have. Like Huss said in our interview with him, Elias Salamonson has now solidified that right side for the Jets, and it's not something that Scott O'Neill has to really worry about. He knows now that with Pionk back, he's got solid 3 right-handed defensemen on his back end.
Yeah, and it's funny because we don't know. We obviously don't know. All O'Neill said was that he's going to be available. He expected him to be available for them this weekend, which obviously in theory could also mean for tomorrow's game. So we can't automatically assume it'll be today, and we also don't know because I don't think Mike made it to Pittsburgh for the optional. So I saw actually Seth was actually there because he tweeted a picture of about 7 or 8 guys, I think, on the ice for the Winnipeg Jets at their optional practice yesterday. So, I mean, it's not a full contact practice, but obviously he got a little bit of contact in, I would imagine, but it's one of those situations where you look at it and you think, what are the Jets going to do versus what should they do? What are the Jets going to do? Well, they'll probably go back to what has been their kind of go-to, which is DeMello and Morrissey, which is Pionk and Samberg. And obviously this would be new, but Salamonson with one of Bryson, Fleury, or Heinola. And that's probably in that order, I would think. But, Fleury and Bryson, I would imagine, is a toss-up. As Drew says, it's somewhat immaterial as to who the left side third pairing D-man is, because they're all fairly interchangeable.
Right.
So, again, would I want to see Salamonson playing up with Morrissey? I mean, they've been very good. If you look at the analytics have been very good for that pairing. And Ezzy, it's not like we didn't futurecast this on the extended Manitoba Moose minute at the beginning of the season during training camp when I asked Salamonson to project if he could play with any player currently playing or retired, who would he pick that would pair well with his game? And he picked number 44, Josh Morrissey. So could have picked a bunch of Swedish guys, went with Josh Morrissey, and it really seems that he was right. I mean, their games complement. Now, Josh Morrissey is a phenomenal defenseman, so he complements a lot of players. He and Dylan DeMello have been very good together for years, and that's because I think of how good Morrissey has been. But Salamonson just seems to have been very effective in the minutes that he's been given. And like I said, he and Morrissey have worked well. So would I like to see that pairing continue? Yes. Do I expect, them to ease Neil Pionk in? I mean, he hasn't played since January 13th. It's been a long time. Mm-hmm. And even then, if you remember, he was hurt because I think he was actually hurt on the 6th or 7th. I think it was that Oilers game, missed the next game, played that game on the 13th against, I can't remember who it was, maybe the Islanders. But he only played like a period and then he was basically done. So he hasn't played in 2 months. So it's I'm just saying, do you want to throw him back into a top 4 or do you rather ease him back into the lineup?
So you're saying Pionk on the third pairing, keep Morrissey keep Salamonson with Morrissey and then keep Salamonson with Samberg and then keep DeMello with Morrissey.
Yeah, and then just kind of ease Pionk in because I just think you're asking a lot of him to come back.
But the point, I think the big point there, sorry, Dave, but the big point there is that Salamonson is still a fixture in your top 4.
Yes, I mean, I think he has to be. I think that you have to look at him and look, we've been talking about this, Ezzy, for how long? The Jets need more effective players in their sort of their top 4. And I mean, look, they've hamstrung themselves. Neil Pionk did not have a good first year of his new contract. By any metric, it was not a good year. So, I mean, that's a problem for the Jets. And again, the one thing you don't want to do as an organization, which they've done for years, is block guys pass. If Salamonson is in your top 4, then play him in your top 4 alongside DeMello or Pionk, whoever that's going to be, and have the other guy be the third pairing guy. And that's ultimately what you need from this team, because that's kind of the way to get better, is to just not kind of throttle this prospects development, especially in these final 14 games.
It seems like, for next year, certainly that an ideal situation for the Winnipeg Jets is, and I think we talked about this on Thursday's postgame, Ezzy, is Salamonson in a top 4 role, DeMello in a bottom pairing role. Better for everybody involved. It means that DeMello has been very serviceable for the Winnipeg Jets. I mean, as he's gotten older, has his quality dipped? Yes, but that's natural to expect. But all of a sudden, if Dylan DeMello is on your third pairing right side defenseman, if that's how the Jets line up to start next year, that he's on your third pair on the right side, well, I think that's a hell of a lot of a better position for the Jets to be in than they were in to start this year, for example, where we saw the struggles of Luke Schenn game in and game out on that third pairing right side, where the right side third pair for a lot of the season has been a revolving door. Now, is that symptomatic or is that emblematic of the error the Jets made and maybe not promoting Salamonson earlier? Yes, to some extent, probably the case. But all of a sudden, if your right side for next year is Salamonson, Pionk, and DeMello, you're much more solid there. You're much more stable there than you were this year at any point in time.
I think we're all in agreement here that Salamonson has proven that he can be a top 4 defenseman. I don't think that's really up for debate. I think anybody watching Salamonson, look, we've been posting comments in the chat. Everybody can see his skill set, right? Like, even though he's only, 21, 22 years old, early 20s, that's the point. Mm-hmm. He has proven that, he's not just somebody who is getting 10 or 12 minutes on the third pair. He's proving that he can play with Josh Morrissey on the top pair. He's proving that he can play with Dylan Samberg on the second pair. He's proving that he can play on the second power play unit and actually contribute and not look at all out of place, right? And I think
the goal that he set up for Taves is a skill play. I mean, that's not a defender, a young player rushing a shot and panicking while getting power play 2 times. It's a skilled shot in a position, to set up a deflection. That's a skilled play.
Absolutely. And I think, this Penguins game is going to be a big test because we talked about it. Everybody knows that the Penguins have been a big surprise in the Eastern Conference, but this Penguins team, and I know Dave has noted this in the pregame report, like, this Penguins team, they score a lot of goals. They're very stingy defensively, which I think is the biggest surprise. Obviously, Stuart Skinner has helped that a little bit, but you're talking about the top PK and the third best power play in the league,
Yeah.
right? So when you're top
Special team
three,
juggernauts.
exactly. And how many people thought that was going to happen with the Pittsburgh Penguins, where you'd say they're top three in both PP and penalty kill?
Power
right?
play, you would assume. I mean, power play is not a surprise when you have Crosby, Malkin, Carlson, Letang. You have a lot of offensive firepower. But the fact that they are, like you said, Ezzy, the fact that they have the best penalty kill in the entire NHL, and that they are, as defensively responsible as they are, that is the stunning part from a Pittsburgh Penguins perspective. It's a good hockey team.
Absolutely. And like we talked about, they still haven't clinched a playoff spot, even though Colorado clinched the first playoff spot. They were the first team, I should say, that clinched a playoff spot. Pittsburgh still, they need these points, right? And so the Jets also need these points. And I realized that after that Boston game, a lot of people kind of were ready, Dave, to put the nail in the coffin of the Jets season. But if they're able to, and again, this is a big if, but if they're able to get 4 points from this weekend and they're able to get some help, we talked about it, right? On Thursday night, the Jets got some help. The San Jose Sharks lost. The LA Kings lost in a shootout, so the Kings gained a point, but who else lost? I think the Kraken.
Nashville beat Seattle.
Yeah, Nashville beat Seattle. So the Jets got some help, but for the time being, they're still within striking distance. So, but they've got to win both these games. As far as I'm concerned, if they lose one of these games, then I'm prepared to say that, it's over.
Well, the time just, the time is like the sands through an hourglass. They keep getting, shorter and shorter, and they keep running out on the Jets for them to make a move. I mean, we were, it was last weekend. It was on the Saturday morning show last weekend where we were expecting to be able to write them off after the weekend games against Colorado and St. Louis. And what happened is they took 4. And they managed to move themselves closer to a playoff spot. I believe they started last Saturday, and Dave, maybe you have a better memory than I do, that they were 7 out last Saturday.
They were.
I think
and
so,
they're,
yeah.
And they're 5
and
out.
then they got within 3.
Yeah. No, they never actually got within 3. They got within 4.
Or 4,
Yeah,
sorry.
they got within 4. But, I mean, again, it requires victories. It requires victories, and it requires better play, better performance than what you saw on Thursday night. I mean, the mistakes that the Jets made on Thursday night were just the degree of difficulty for the Jets against a good hockey team is high enough as is, even when they're not making mistakes. But then to add mistakes to the equation, it makes it almost an impossibility for them to be able to be effective. And that's what happened on Thursday night, is that they just made too many mistakes. I mean, you think about the first goal, it's a Kyle Connor, it's a soft play. It's a great play by David Pastrnak, but he's a superstar for a reason. You can't do that. If you make that same type of play against Malkin or Crosby, they're going to do the same thing that Pastrnak did. They have such a high level of skill. They can knock a puck down, take it, and score before you even realize what happened, that you've turned the puck over. Can't do that today. You may be, the Rangers tomorrow. We know the Rangers have been absolutely horrendous on home ice, but they've been playing better hockey as of late. And this is the same New York Rangers team that came into Winnipeg last week. Although the Rangers have lost 3 in a row, as I say that. This is the same Rangers team that came into Winnipeg, 10 days ago, 9 days ago, and absolutely pumped the Jets. So the Jets have to be at almost peak execution, Dave, for them to even have a sniff at it. And it starts with the 2 games this weekend to be able to put the Boston game in the rearview mirror.
Well, as he says, you can't win one. I mean, it's funny. Every time I make these grandiose statements, well, they're not that so grandiose, but every time I make a statement like this, the rest of the stinky teams in the West prove me wrong, and that's part of the problem, right? As I can't get ahead of my skis, because the truth is that
do you ski?
I do, yeah. Frostfire, La Riviere, for sure. I did some prairie skiing, Fernie, why not? I mean, I've done some places. So there's I did it at Candy Mountain and Loch Lomond down in Thunder Bay. I didn't really like cross country skiing, for the record. I always found cross country skiing to be.
I'm not a big skiing guy.
But you seem more stable on the ground kind of activities, as
I did
land for you.
I remember once I was skiing with my dad and brother and one of my dad's friends, and I figured, I'm going to try snowboarding. I lasted about an hour before I was beyond frustrated and went back to skiing. But I like skiing, skiing, good sport. We don't do a lot of it. It's not too many mountains here, as in Manitoba, but we can get. It's always funny when you go to like the places and you're at the bottom of the hill. You take the gondola up, and then literally you get to the top and you just look out and you see the prairies, like at La Riviere and stuff like that. But anyways, let's get back away from the skiing and get back to the Jets. And look, if you don't win both, then you should be done. If you get only one win, essentially you should be done. I mean, the reality, and I know most folks are going to say this team should be done regardless, but I'm just saying from a mathematical perspective, that should really eliminate you. And look, we will be able to have this conversation. The next game is Tuesday night, right? So we'll be able to have that dialogue. I mean, obviously we're going to have post-game shows, so we'll be talking about this both today and tomorrow, boys. But ultimately, I'm just saying that we'll really be able to decide or discuss, I would imagine, at the end of this weekend, where this team's sort of going for the remainder of the year. But yeah, you just, to the point that you're making, though, Drew, is that you cannot be ineffective. You cannot be loose. You have to be tight, because we touched on it, and we'll ask Seth about it, because he's going to give us insight into Pittsburgh that we obviously do not have ourselves. But this is a Penguins team that is in a fight. And so their attention to details, to quote a Drewism, is definitely going to be significant.
It should be the Jets and the Penguins. They'll do battle in about 90 minutes time. When we come back, Seth Roorbach will give us an update on the Penguins. He's covered the Penguins for many years for the Pittsburgh Tribune Review. He joins us next here on the Illegal Curve Hockey Show, presented by our friends at Play Now. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
I want to thank you for not betting with Play Now and choosing our illegal gambling sites instead.
Because we couldn't afford things like this without your money.
So much of your money.
Now you might have questions like,
Do our profits benefit your community?
No. Or bet with Play Now, Manitoba's local legal and secure gambling site.
Dining, entertainment, parking, and convenience, all in one spot. City Place is located in the heart of downtown Winnipeg, attached to the Canada Life Center. Whether you're working, living, or out for a night in the downtown, make City Place your go-to destination before or after the fun finds you. Lunchtime, game time, anytime. Visit City Place at 333 St. Mary Avenue, next to Canada Life Center.
Boys, I've made an important life decision, and I need your support.
Oh, boy.
I've decided to get a grill.
You mean a barbecue grill for cooking? Like, that's not an important life decision, Ezzy.
No. A grill for my teeth.
A grill for your teeth? Do I even want to know why you're doing this?
It's simple, really. Every time I go to Holt Dental, I get treated so very well by Dr. John and his team that I need to keep finding additional reasons to go back. I rely on Holt Dental for all of my dental needs, and they do it all, from regular cleanings to cosmetic dentistry. Plus, they have free parking at their front door, and you know how much I love my convenient parking.
For all your dental needs, Illegal Curve recommends Holt Dental, conveniently located on Taylor Avenue near Grant Park Mall. For more information, visit them online at holtdental.ca.
For over 40 years, Rumors Restaurant and Comedy Club has been Winnipeg's home for stand-up comedy. Renowned in the comedy world as a must-play venue, Rumors has recently been named Canada's top comedy club and a top 5 comedy club in North America. From birthday parties to date nights to fundraisers, wedding socials, and everything in between, Rumors is your destination for the best live entertainment Winnipeg has to offer. For information on upcoming shows, Rumors' incredible promotions, and to purchase show tickets, visit rumorscomedyclub.com.
Hey Winnipeg, Joe Carter here. I look forward to joining you in Winnipeg on June 4th for the Rady JCC Ken Cronson Sports Dinner. See you in June. Don't be late.
At Boston Pizza, a fast lunch doesn't have to mean fast food. Now you can get a $15 lunch served in just 20 minutes, including your choice of a main, side, and drink. That's right, lunch for $15 at your local Boston Pizza.
Bottom of hour number 2. Welcome back to the Illegal Curve Hockey Show. Drew Mandel, Dave Minuk, Ezra Ginsburg. Want to remind everybody, special noon hour show. I'm not talking about the post-game show in this instance, this weekend, which might also be at the noon hour, given their early start times. But rather, Thursday afternoon, 12 noon, we'll be at City Place. We'll be live on location, giving you a special edition of the Illegal Curve Hockey Show, getting you set for the Winnipeg Jets and the Colorado Avalanche. It's a difficult schedule at home for the Jets this coming week when you have the Vegas Golden Knights on Tuesday, and then you have the Colorado Avalanche on Thursday. So no fun.
And a home and home with them, isn't it? Don't they play in Colorado the next game?
That sounds right. Yes, they play in Colorado on Saturday. So
Yeah.
Vegas, home to Colorado, at Colorado is the schedule Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday for the Winnipeg Jets. Certainly not an easy combination of games for the Jets. That's another reason why everyone expects the Jets to not end up as a playoff team, is that of all the terrible teams in the Western Conference in that battle for a playoff spot, the Jets by far have the hardest schedule. So if they were to make it, they will have earned it by defeating some high caliber, high quality teams. And that's been a struggle for the Jets as of late, with the exception of that game against Colorado last Saturday, which was the upset victory that none of us necessarily expected to see. But there we have it. That's the schedule in store, and we'll be at City Place on Thursday. So we encourage you, if you're in the downtown area, come join us Thursday afternoon, 12 noon. We'll talk about the Jets. We'll talk about the Colorado Avalanche. We're looking forward to that. Artur Silovs is going to get the start for the Pittsburgh Penguins. He's the projected goalie for this morning's contest between the Jets and the Penguins. And Sam Girard is also scheduled to return to the Penguins lineup. He's missed the last 5 games or so for the Penguins. We'll talk more about them, of course, with Seth Roorbach.
Drew, you should really acknowledge that Artur Silovs, former Manitoba Moose. Great.
Yeah.
Yes.
How did you forget that, Drew? Come on.
I apologize. I was going to mention his time with the Vancouver Canucks, but yes, I should have also mentioned that he was a member of the Manitoba Moose briefly, right? How long did he play?
1 game.
1 game. Okay.
He played one. It was during the COVID year, and then they recalled him, and he was on the
taxi squad.
Taxi squad, sorry, for the remainder. But it was funny that.
Do you remember if he won that game though, Dave, or lost that game?
That's a good question. I don't. Hold on. He lost. He lost.
Okay.
He had a 920 save percentage in the game, though, Ezra.
I think that was just in Dave's memory bank. I don't think Dave pulled that up.
I'm wondering, does he have a Moose? Does he have a game-by-game sortable database of Moose results that he can can access in a pinch?
Well, when you only played 1 game, Drew, it's not really hard to figure out what his save percentage and his goals against average was in that 1 game.
Fair enough. I guess that is a fair comment on your part. But anyways, the Jets and the Penguins, that's who the goaltender of record is going to be for the Pittsburgh Penguins in this afternoon's contest. The Jets are expected to go with Connor Hellebuyck in net, coming off the disappointment of Thursday in Boston, but we will see if that is indeed the case. But that's the expectation. And for what it's worth, Mike and Ken do that sort of game preview, the warm-up online for the freepress.com. For what it's worth, they do have the lines as similar to as the same as that they were at the end of the game. The end of the game on Thursday with Scheifele and Velarde, Connor together, Perfetti, Lowry, and Lambert. We'll head to Pittsburgh to the press box. Is it still the PPG Paints Arena, Seth? Is that what it's still called?
That is correct. If you can hear me over the music, it's still PPG Paints Arena.
We can hear you, yes. So Seth Roorbach of the Pittsburgh Tribune Review joins us to talk about the Penguins ahead of the Jets and the Penguins getting started in about 90 minutes time. And Seth, when we started our program this morning, we were talking about how, just from a outsider's perspective, from a fan's perspective, how exciting it is to see guys like Crosby, especially, and Malkin and Letang and Carlson back in the throes of the thick of a playoff race. I mean, this must be an unexpected bonus for everybody in Pittsburgh as well.
Yeah, there was a lot of people here who thought the Penguins should be tanked this season, particularly with Gavin McKenna just 2 hours up the road to Penn State. And frankly, the Penguins have had good success going that route, going back 40 years with Mario Lemieux or 20 years with Sidney Crosby. So I think for some people, it's like the only way to build a team here in Pittsburgh is to tank and getting potentially generational talent. But no, they made some under the radar moves in the offseason. You bring in Anthony Mantha, who was coming off a major knee injury last year. You bring in a guy like Justin Brazeau, who's like a bottom 6 forward predominantly throughout his career. Parker Witherspoon was a bit of a journeyman throughout his career to this point. A lot of these guys that they brought in, are playing some of the best hockey they've ever played as NHL players. Even Anthony Mantha, who before his knee injury was a fairly established player, he's already reached career highs in goals, points, all that. And, he's been fully healthy this season, and he's also offered a lot of intangibles, just a leader in the room and things like that. So then you have like a guy like a Ben Kindle, 11th overall pick in the draft last year. A lot of the mock drafts thought he should be like mid-20s, but they take him at 11, and he's been with the team the whole season so far. He's still junior eligible. So, and hey, full credit to Dan Muse, a different voice than Mike Sullivan, who was here for 10 years, but Mike Sullivan very successful, but things that maybe gotten stale there. So Dan Muse has brought in a different perspective, pushed a lot of the right buttons more often than not, and all that's kind of inspired to the Penguins being a surprise this year.
Seth, I wanted to ask you specifically about the goaltending and the big trade that obviously took place, bringing in Stuart Skinner and trading Tristan Jarry to the Edmonton Oilers. I mean, it just seems like a new address, a new city, a new team just seemed to be exactly what Stuart Skinner needed to kind of revive his career.
Yeah, and plus the team that plays defense is helpful as well.
Right.
Not to take a swipe at the Oilers, but you look at Tristan Jarry's numbers, they're much worse than they were here in Pittsburgh, whereas Stuart Skinner's numbers are much better than they were in Edmonton. I think just the defense the Penguins have played this year has been a big reason for their success overall. Their team defense, not just the blue line, but their defense last year was atrocious. You saw the goalies they had last year, Tristan Jarry, Alex Nedeljkovic, struggled. This year, Tristan Jarry got off to a pretty good start before going to Edmonton. They platooned him with Artur Silovs, who had an okay start, and obviously Stuart Skinner's kind of taken over after that trade, and he's put together some reliable starts as well. I think a lot of it just comes down to the fact that they play a lot better defense here in Pittsburgh than they did last year. And the two goalies predominantly that are going with here, Silovs and Skinner, they've basically platooned every other game with them since mid-December, and it's worked out well for both players. Neither one's exhausted, neither one's tired or laboring. Presumably, you go to the playoffs, you turn to one, but that guy would maybe be a little bit more fresher as opposed to maybe a true number one goalie who's played, maybe 60-70% of the starts at this point. So on top of that, too, they have a couple of promising prospects. Sergei Murashov came up for a few games this year. They look at him as the goaltender of the future, perhaps even as soon as next year. And Dave Yolblanquist, who was an AHL All-Star a few years ago, was a second-round pick a couple years ago. So they have quite a bit of depth at the position. Stuart Skinner's enjoyed a lot of success here, and I think a lot of it has to do with how well defensively the Penguins play most nights.
Seth, have to ask you about Sidney Crosby, 38 years old. Doesn't look like he's missed a beat, over a point a game player. There's so much talk, not any of it coming from Pittsburgh, from a lot of noise outside the league about trading Crosby, giving him a chance. I don't know. It sounds to me like he wasn't even entertaining that kind of discussion. But what has it meant for the city? Did you see him having this level of success in, as this group is still together, even though people were thinking it was going to be an off year?
He's the North Star here. Maybe not Mike Modano or Bobby Smith; those were actual North Stars. But he's the North Star here. Everything revolves around him. Even with Mario Lemieux still around in a periphery sense as a minority owner and whatnot. But so much of what revolves here, revolves around him. And that's not just how well they play on the ice. That's whether or not people even care about the Penguins in terms of watching them on TV or being curious where they are in the playoff race or all of that. So, and the fact that, he's still a very elite player, still a high-end player, probably still, I would dare say, a top 10 player in this league. Very complete player. It's not just the fact that he's racking up points and he certainly does that well, but plays a very thoroughly complete defensive game as well. So, he's almost like a public utility here at this point. You flip the switch, you turn on the faucet, you expect the power to flow, you expect the water to flow. You turn on the Pittsburgh Penguins, assuming he's healthy, you expect Sidney Crosby to be out there putting on a show, and he's still doing that after 21 years, and presumably he'll be doing that for several more years here, even as he approaches his 40s.
Seth Roorbach is our guest here on the Illegal Curve Hockey Show, talking about the Penguins ahead of the Jets and the Penguins in about 80 minutes time. Seth, the Penguins made a rare hockey trade. It's sort of funny that hockey trades themselves, player for player deals, are so rare in the NHL that it stands out when a team makes one. But they acquired Samuel Girard. He's expected to be back in the Penguins lineup for this afternoon's game. They acquired Samuel Girard from Colorado in exchange for Brett Kulak. They also got a second second-round pick in the acquisition. I mean, Kulak is a guy who came over from Edmonton earlier in the year as part of the Jari Skinner deal. So what was the logic? He's a rental, so they trade away a rental. They acquire a guy who's got a year left, and they get a second-round pick to boot. Was it just too much of an opportunity for Kyle Dubas to pass up in making that trade?
Well, it was a couple reasons. First off, going back to last year, Kyle Dubas identified the left side of their defense as being a problem. And Sam Girard's a left-handed defenseman. This is someone they had targeted for a while to maybe alleviate some of the issues they had over there going back to last year. On top of that, too, he's about 5 years younger than Brett Kulak. And as you mentioned, another year left on the deal. So there's some contract controls and maybe future considerations there. Ideally, Sam Girard might be part of this blue line for another 5-6 years. Even, by the time Erik Karlsson or Chris Letang, both right-handers, move on. So, and on top of that too, you get a second-round pick, and Kyle Dubas is he's big on draft picks. He likes them a lot. So, they added a little bit more salary. I think it was about double the salary cap with Sam Girard, but they obviously there's some immediate benefit, ideally or hopefully in that regard, but also some future benefit. As far as how it's worked out on the ice, it's been some mixed results. He's predominantly played with Chris Letang, and that hasn't really worked out for either of them. They played together for about 6 games before. By the 7th game, they moved Girard down to the third pair, and he got hurt in that game. So he's been out for the past 5 games. Based on practice here on Friday, it looks like Girard and Letang will be back together. Very much a work in progress. Chris Letang himself has had some struggles this year. He's 38. He's dealt with some major medical calamities, throughout his career, and I'm starting to get curious if some of that wear and tear is starting to show up in how he plays. But ideally, they look at Girard as a good partner for Letang. Oddly enough, Brett Kulak actually probably got the best hockey out of Chris Letang of any of the partners he's worked with this year. But ultimately, that only lasted for about 6 weeks before they made the trade for Girard there. So still very much a work in progress. One thing Girard did mention yesterday is that Colorado played more of a man-on-man style defense, whereas Letang was playing more of a zone scheme. So he's still maybe adjusting to that after 9 years in Colorado. But it's an optimistic trade for the future as well as for the current.
Seth, at the beginning of the interview, you mentioned some of the players that the Penguins have acquired in the last year, namely Anthony Mantha, Justin Brazeau. In the trade with Toronto, the Penguins acquired Connor Dewar and Connor Timmins, and all they had to give up was a 5th-round pick. Like, when you're talking about Mantha, Brazeau, and Connor Dewar, all of these guys are having career years. Like, how much credit do you think Kyle Dubas deserves? Like, because let's be honest, he was criticized when he first became the Penguins general manager for some of the moves he was making, but it seems like those 3 guys specifically are all hits.
Yeah, Kyle Dubas will tell you a lot. Oftentimes his I forget the exact title. It's like director of player personnel, but Wes Clark, who he worked with in Toronto, and going back to the Sioux back in the junior days, was a guy that really helped maybe spearhead some of the scouting efforts they made professionally to bring in those guys. Justin Brazeau is a fascinating case. I mean, it's a guy who I think he topped out at 11 goals last year. The vast majority of them maybe happened within the first 2-3 months of the season. I mean, he's already hit career highs with 16 goals. And, start of the season, their second line was Mantha, Evgeni Malkin, and Justin Brazeau. All those guys are 6'5" or taller. I mean, they look like the front court of a bad college basketball team, more than an NHL second line. But they found a lot of chemistry right away. Another guy that's maybe in that vein, Igor Chinakhov, was a guy, former 1st-round pick in Columbus. Didn't work out there for a variety of reasons. Got to the point where he requested a trade. That trade happened in late December, and they stuck him on a line with Tommy Novak and Evgeni Malkin. You look on paper at first, you're like, okay, how are these guys going to work together? Okay, maybe it makes sense with Chinakhov and Malkin. They're both Russian, but Tommy Novak was the guy who was kind of cast off that they got in a trade last year from Nashville that they've got some great hockey out of as well. So they've done a great job in terms of maybe avoiding some of the big fish out there in free agency or trades or whatever, and getting some more under the radar guys, just giving them opportunity and seeing a lot of them flourish. 2 years ago when Kyle got here, he wanted to win the cup right away. So he spent big money, re-signs Tristan Jarry, trades for Erik Karlsson, brings in Lars Eller, Ryan Graves. Almost none of those moves worked. 2 years later, he's made some more under the radar moves, and he's quietly and subtly built up a playoff contender.
Well, Seth, Winnipeg-based show, so we have to ask, how is Rutger McGroarty doing with Pittsburgh? I mean, we know obviously he split his time between Wilkes-Barre and Pittsburgh this year, but how is his development coming along?
I would say it's been very pronounced. Maybe if that's a diplomatic way of saying it. Last year is his first year of pro hockey. Keep in mind, up to that point in college, he almost never played more than, say, 35, 37 games a year, and he was going through that grind for the first time last year. Went through some growing pains last year with Wilkes-Barre Scranton in the American League. Came up late, along with another rookie, Billy Koivunen, late last in the regular season, and they looked very good. And there was a lot of promise there going into this season. Unfortunately for Rutger, he ended up having some kind of I still don't know what it is, but an undisclosed injury right before training camp. Didn't get back into the lineup for Wilkes-Barre until maybe mid-November. Played very well right off the top. Came back up here to Pittsburgh. Played predominantly on the third line throughout December. It was okay. I think in that station he was maybe being more used in a defensive capacity, and he did okay there. Since then, he's dealt with some other injuries. I think he suffered a concussion during a practice when he collided with Connor Clifton, a teammate here. So it's been a mixed bag. He's come up. There's been some promise. There's other times where he's just another guy out there so far. So again, I think he's just 22. I don't have the top of my head, but he's still developing, still very much a work in progress. Obviously, a lot of hopes there, just given how notable that trade was. He's a former first-round pick, and maybe he hasn't met them yet, but I would caution everyone that he's still very much a work in progress. Ideally, he's probably, I would say, a middle six-winger, power forward type, but that still has to play out to this point in his career here.
Seth, it's hard to picture Sidney Crosby in a different jersey. It's also hard to picture Evgeni Malkin in a different jersey. He's UFA at season's end. He's expressed his interest in returning to Pittsburgh. Nothing has been done as of yet. How do you foresee that playing out for the remainder of this season and into the offseason potentially?
Well, all parties concerned in recent weeks have noted that they'll discuss this after the season. And frankly, there's no reason to rush out there and sign him to a contract now. Evgeni Malkin's very comfortable here. And that's not just because, he's been here for 20 years and had a lot of success. I mean, he's very comfortable being in Sidney Crosby's shadow. He's very cognizant if he were to go somewhere else, even in Russia, particularly more so in Russia, that if he were to go somewhere else, he would be on a much more elevated platform, would be much more maybe notable to that team's success in terms of stature and whatnot. He's very comfortable being a colonel, the Sid's general, if you're part of the military comparison there. But he's very comfortable in his ways. As a middle-aged man, I can tell you when you're in your 40s, you don't like change. So he'll be 40 this summer. Honestly, I could see it working out that they would just maybe sign him to a one-year contract, maybe the comparable cap hit. He's a little bit over $6 million, I believe. And maybe you go along that route with him moving forward into the next season, so on and so forth. So still a very productive player, point per game player. Still prone to some dumb stuff, like when he slashes Rasmus Dahlin in the head, but gets a 5-game suspension. But still an absolutely huge asset for this team, even as he approaches 40.
Last one for you, Seth. We were talking all show about the log jam that is the playoff race, the battle for the final playoff spots in the Eastern Conference. What's going to be the differentiator that puts the Penguins into a playoff spot over all the other teams that they're battling with?
I would say their depth. As we mentioned, all these names that we've talked about, Connor Dewar, Anthony Mantha, etc. These guys are all playing some of the best hockey they've ever played. And they've even called up some rookies, like a guy that got drafted, Avery Hayes, right before the Olympic break. They had 3 guys out of the lineup. They called Avery Hayes, never played in the NHL before. Comes up, scores 2 goals in Buffalo after he drove all the way from Wilkes-Barre to Buffalo in the middle of the day. So they have plenty of depth. And that's not to say other teams in the league don't have depth, but in recent years, depth was an issue for the Penguins. I thought it was a big reason for why they didn't make the playoffs for 3 years. Kyle Dubas has quietly built up the depth, not just on the NHL roster, but going down to Wilkes-Barre Scranton as well. So there's still maybe some depth issues on the defense, particularly on the right side. But most other positions, particularly the goaltenders, as I mentioned, if you're missing someone's suspension, injury, what have you, they have the depth to replace them most nights, and I think that will be a big reason why they stand out of this playoff field.
Seth, I just have one question. I just wanted to ask you about Rickard Rakell, because he's currently on a 7-game point streak, and he's obviously somebody who the Jets are going to have to look out for this year. And The question I wanted to ask you is, like, do you think that he gets enough credit, maybe outside of Pittsburgh? Because last year, obviously, he was second on the team in scoring behind Sidney Crosby, 35 goals, 35 assists, Mr. Even Steven. But he seems like a guy that, you know, when you think about Pittsburgh, you think Crosby, you think Malkin, Letang, Carlson, and Rickard Rakell just year after year just produces for this Penguins team.
Yeah, he's probably been down a bit this year. And to his credit, he's had to actually step in for Sidney Crosby as a centerman in the past month or so after he got injured in the Olympics. So he's okay. He's competent as a centerman, but he's much more comfortable as a winger and oftentimes more productive. But no, I mean, he's a very consistent performer, and you get the trust of Sidney Crosby. That says something. I mean, Sidney Crosby can be somewhat particular about his wingers or how he wants to play with people he's on the ice with. And Rickard Rakell's met those demands to great success. And, you know, that line they have with Russ, Rakell, and Crosby, all guys capable of scoring 20, 30 goals. They all kind of play a very, very phonetic kind of short area game, play a north-south game. Rickard Rakell's pretty versatile too. Power play, PK, something as well. As I mentioned, he can step in for center if you need him in a pinch. So I would say maybe he doesn't have as big a star here as some of the other players here. Just first off, you have some luminaries like Crosby, Malkin, etc., Carlson. But also, you know, a lot of his time here since he was acquired in a trade in 2022, they haven't been a playoff team. So he maybe hasn't had the platform nationally, internationally to be, you know, at that stature. But he's been a big part of this team's success this year, and has been one of their better performers through what's been a pretty slow skid for this organization the past 3 years.
Seth Roorbach covers the Pittsburgh Penguins for the Pittsburgh Tribune Review. Seth, thanks so much for joining us this morning. Puck drop in 70 minutes. We'll look forward to seeing your coverage of the game. Appreciate your time and appreciate your insight.
Oh, good, guys. Be well.
You too.
Thanks,
Take care, Kath. Thanks so much for joining us. Seth Roorbach joining us from PPG Paints Arena, the press box, where now we know the soundtrack that they play before various games. So that's always an exciting development.
A lot of those songs, Dave, were Drew's favorite songs.
It's true. They're all on my top hits. You know, they're all on my Wrapped for the year end. I don't use Spotify, but if I had Spotify, they'd all be on my Wrapped. When we come back, more of the Illegal Curve hockey show on this Saturday morning.
I want to thank you for not betting with Play Now and choosing our illegal gambling site instead.
Because we couldn't afford things like this without your money.
So much of your money.
Now, you might have questions like,
Do our profits benefit your community?
No. Or bet with Play Now, Manitoba's local legal and secure gambling site.
Dining, entertainment, parking, and convenience, all in one spot. City Place is located in the heart of downtown Winnipeg, attached to the Canada Life Center. Whether you're working, living, or out for a night in the downtown, make City Place your go-to destination before or after the fun finds you. Lunchtime, game time, anytime. Visit City Place at 333 St. Mary Avenue, next to Canada Life Center.
Boys, I've made an important life decision, and I need your support.
Oh boy.
I've decided to get a grill.
You mean a barbecue grill for cooking? Like, that's not an important life decision, Ezzy.
No. A grill for my teeth.
A grill for your teeth? Do I even want to know why you're doing this?
It's simple, really. Every time I go to Holt Dental, I get treated so very well by Dr. John and his team that I need to keep finding additional reasons to go back. I rely on Holt Dental for all of my dental needs, and they do it all, from regular cleanings to cosmetic dentistry. Plus, they have free parking at their front door, and you know how much I love my convenient parking.
For all your dental needs, Illegal Curve recommends Holt Dental, conveniently located on Taylor Avenue near Grant Park Mall. For more information, visit them online at holtdental.ca. For over 40 years, Rumors Restaurant and Comedy Club has been Winnipeg's home for stand-up comedy. Renowned in the comedy world as a must-play venue, Rumors has recently been named Canada's top comedy club and a top 5 comedy club in North America. From birthday parties to date nights to fundraisers, wedding socials, and everything in between, Rumors is your destination for the best live entertainment Winnipeg has to offer.
For information on upcoming shows, Rumor's incredible promotions, and to purchase show tickets, visit rumorscomedyclub.com.
Hey Winnipeg, Joe Carter here. I look forward to joining you in Winnipeg on June 4th for the Rady JCC Ken Cronson Sports Dinner. See you in June. Don't be late.
At Boston Pizza, a fast lunch doesn't have to mean fast food. Now you can get a $15 lunch served in just 20 minutes, including your choice of a main, side, and drink. That's right, lunch for $15 at your local Boston Pizza.
Welcome back to the Illegal Curve Hockey Show. Saturday morning, we remind you the post-game show following the Jets and the Penguins will be at around 2:30 or so this afternoon. So you got about 3 hours, maybe a little more than 3 hours without us, but then you'll be back for the post-game show undoubtedly to talk about the Jets and the Penguins. And then you'll have about 23 hours without us before you come back for the post-game show following the Jets and the Rangers. So these early start times make for early post-game shows, but that just means more Illegal Curve in your life at an earlier hour. According to the good folks at Daily Faceoff, Neil Pionk is no longer listed on IR on the NHL media site. That is an indicator that he should be likely back in the Jets lineup for this afternoon's contest against the Penguins. So not a real big surprise there. We were sort of anticipating that, but Neil Pionk looks to return to the Jets lineup. How he will be deployed is soon to be made available, probably in about 35 minutes time when the pregame skate starts. Keep it locked to illegalcurve.com and the Illegal Curve social media feeds for the latest on the Winnipeg Jets lineup for the game coming up against the Penguins in about an hour's time. Looking forward to that big fun show. Looking forward to another fun post-game show after the game, whether or not it's win or lose for the Winnipeg Jets. I know the two of you will be there. It's unclear yet. We have to see how my day unfolds if I'll be able to join you or not. But in any event, the two of you will be there. I'm going to be busy spending the next hour training for the big supermarket sweep coming up on Wednesday. That's where I'm really focused. I'm dialed in, laser focused on all of that, getting ready for Wednesday's supermarket sweep. I believe we've sourced a GoPro camera, so we will bring you
Actually,
yeah, we've made contact with potentially getting
that was my wish, Dave, because I thought that if there's nothing more. By the way, Drew, you should probably explain.
Right.
Some
So
people
what
might
happened,
not.
for
Some
anybody
people
who
might not
missed-
know what you're talking about.
Right. So for anybody who missed Thursday's post-game show, I announced that I have been selected to take a 60-second shopping spree through one of the local co-op grocery stores, the one at Grant Park Mall. I was the recipient. My name was drawn out of a contest. So I found that out earlier on Thursday. That explains why, for anybody watching and was wondering why my name was Drew the Meat Mindell. Meatman Mindell. Sorry, I've already forgotten what I dubbed myself. But so on Thursday, I was awarded this 60-second shopping spree through the local co-op grocery store. And that's going to take place coming up on Wednesday morning. Unfortunately, gift cards, tobacco, lottery products, they are not available to me during the course
But Dave, that's all the fun stuff.
So as we discussed on Thursday's post-game show, we're going to be I'm going to be making a beeline for the meat department. But
even there, are you limited? Are you limited to?
Good question, Dave. Very good
Thank
question.
you.
So I
Thank
reached
you.
out and I asked the manager at the store what my limitations are. So it's a $500 maximum. So I can only take $500 worth of product. But I said to him, am I only allowed to get 2 chicken products, or is it 2 packages of chicken breast, 2 packages of chicken wings, 2 packages of chicken legs, et cetera, et cetera? And he said that I can get 2 packages of any different kind of meat. So I can get 2 packages of chicken breast, 2 packages of...
It's like the Noah's Ark of grocery shopping.
Right. So in lead up for this, I've been practicing. I've been choking the chicken. I've been beating the meat. I've been hammering the ham.
True.
Stop.
Enough.
I'm not sure if you know what that means, Drew.
We got to remove him from the show with that kind of nonsense.
That was too X-rated there.
Let's
bring him back. Let's bring him back.
This is the family show, Drew. I mean,
bring him back.
Oh, like you didn't see that coming. Like you couldn't possibly see that coming for hours away. I've been building that joke up the entirety of the show. But no, I, of course, would not do that in any way, shape, or form. That would be rude. But I will be running through the grocery store, grabbing as much poultry, beef, ham, pork. I'm not a kosher boy. It's okay. And, of course, I'll grab some cheeses on my way by as well. So that'll be happening on Wednesday.
Don't forget about that kosher section. It's a great kosher section there.
Ezzy, is it wrong that I'm really like hoping that Drew starts running, trips over his own feet, and loses like 45 seconds as he concusses himself?
Well, Dave, I have something to bring up. I was going to mention this off air, but I've contacted the manager at the Co-op in Grand, and he said that it's okay if Dave and I are allowed to stand there, and as you run by, we're actually going to throw eggs at you. So that's
perfectly reasonable.
He said that's okay.
I did ask if we can video it and if people can come and watch, and he said yes. Both of those are definitely things that can happen. So if you
when is it?
Not doing anything at 8:30 in the morning on Wednesday and want to watch me run through a grocery store, potentially knock over some elderly people, feel free to join us at the Grand Park Co-op on Wednesday.
But that's the funniest thing, Dave, is that I thought that the grocery store was going to be like cleared out for Drew.
I agree. It is a little unusual that they're actually creating obstacles in front of you, including the form of elderly shoppers.
Drew's going to run over a poor woman on his way to getting a rump roast.
And the best is like she's going to be taking it. He's like, "What are you doing? Leave my meat alone."
I'm just going to steal it from people's carts. I'm not even going to running. That's a lot of effort. So as people walk by me at that time, I'm just going to start grabbing things out of their carts instead.
Oh yeah, that's true. That's true. Actually, Drew, that would be more. You know what? I mean, if you want to really game the system, if you want to be effective, you should send Laura and whomever else. You can have them already there. They can just bring it, so it'll be in shopping carts, and you can just go yoink, yoink, and then you don't have to run very far.
There you go. That's a good strategy, Dave. We're going to probably do a pre-scout sometime this weekend. We're going to go to the store, check out, make sure I know my direct paths to all the different aisles, and make sure that I have a direct route to get to the best cuts of meat as quickly as possible.
Drew, this is your calling. This is your Olympics. Like this is huge, man. You got to really mentally prepare yourself for this.
I think T. Will has the line of the show right now. Drew, that's my marble rye. Shut up, you old bag.
Exactly right. It's channeling that and meet in a tug of war with an elderly woman for a rye bread. I mean, you can't go wrong at that point in time.
We should mention. I know that everyone's enjoying the meat hour, and I'm not going to do a Manuk Moose minute, Ezzy, because the moose. Not the Manuks.
And also the Manuk Moose minute has been usurped by the Mindell Meat minute.
Yes, I understand you're going to have your little 7 days of fame here, Drew. So I'll give that to you. But I will say that the Moose will be playing the Tucson Roadrunners. First time in 9 years, Tucson is going to be in Winnipeg because, of course, they haven't been
playing. Talk about Alphonse Frey. Please talk about Alphonse Frey.
And if you aren't aware, news broken by this enterprise, Alphonse Frey, the 2024 second rounder.
Yourself as an enterprise?
Well, enterprise, because I didn't take personal credit, Drew. I gave all of us
credit. You could take personal credit for that. You were 100% the person.
I was going to say, Drew takes personal credit all the time.
Yeah, seriously. Even if I don't deserve it. This one, you actually deserved it.
Okay, fine. Well, Alphonse Frey is in Winnipeg. He, of course, practiced with the team the day they had their morning skate on Thursday when they took on the Admirals, a game, as you pointed out, Drew, that they won 3-1. Thomas Milic, as Joe from Winnipeg would account, has been excellent. In 4 of his last 6 games, he's been, been playing really well for the Manitoba Moose, including 2 shutouts in that 6-game run. And but Alphonse Frey, he watched the first game from above. He'll most likely, we don't know yet. It's an afternoon game. It's at 2, so I will be doing the post game from downtown Winnipeg, probably in the second period of that game, maybe into the third. So I may have to do an expedited one, but we'll be getting updates because I'll be giving you live updates from the arena, folks. So that's what you have to look forward to. And
nothing I like more than Dave's Manuk Moose minute updates and an afternoon Moose game. So this is going to be fun.
Although I will say the only prospect I was able to report on was a former prospect. I don't know if you guys saw my Mikhail Burden tweet.
I saw you mention it. I couldn't be bothered to press play on the video. I'll be honest.
Come on, you give it to me. It was hilarious. I don't know if anyone.
Pretty funny.
If you don't know what I'm talking about. Mikhail Burden, who of course was a former draft pick, but he basically was in a shootout in the KHL, and rather than waiting for the shooter to come to him, he literally bolted out of his net and did the old Dominic Hasek on Lemieux slide across to prevent the shooter from getting a shot because the shooter had his head down. So it was just a funny play. I thought it was notable, and so I shared it with the folks.
Would you like me to press?
Oh, there we go. There we go. Press play. That's even better.
Okay, hang on. Let me just rewind it back to the beginning.
Okay.
Here we go. I wonder if it's because he sees that the player looks down at the puck.
Absolutely, for sure.
He kind of reminds me of, Dave, is Ron Hextall doing that.
Yeah, to me, it's like the most famous example for me is like when Hasek did it to Lemieux in the playoffs, the old Chicago Pittsburgh playoffs,
the old buckle buck.
Yeah, and he slid. Although Hasek, I think if I recall correctly, slid basically to the blue line to prevent Lemieux having a breakaway. But still, anyways,
I think the better question though. The better question is, how did you find this clip?
Drew, I'm everywhere and everywhere.
But like, are you searching for Mikkel Burden clips on the regular that this comes up on your feed?
No.
Is this not a good question?
It's a valid question.
It's a valid question, and I will acknowledge that. No, I do not, generally speaking, pay much attention to the KHL. But the KHL,
like, there's no Jets prospect in this game. Am I right?
Oh, that's a fair point. There's no. I mean, the Jets only have Reshevsky. I wouldn't even call him a prospect.
Well, I'm assuming, Dave, that this came up on your Twitter feed and then you shared it. Right?
Yeah, that's exactly what happened. Thank you, Ezzy, for coming to a logical conclusion.
I mean, I never look at my For You on Twitter, so that's why
No, someone must have retweeted into my.
You don't look at the For You, Drew. I'm all about the For You.
No, I never.
My For You is a very dark and depressing place, so I try and stay away from my For You. But
you only have room in your life for one dark and depressing place, and that's the Illegal Curve Hockey Show.
There we go. All right, let's wrap this up. I got to post this show in order to.
The Jets game starts in less than an hour, Drew. Let's
exactly.
Go.
Okay, there we go. That's it. Goodbye to Mikkel Burden. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for all of you for joining us. Thanks to Hustler for joining us. Thanks for Seth Roorbach for joining us. And a big thank you to all the sponsors of Illegal Curve who make the post-game show, the Saturday show, and the website a possibility. That's our friends at Rumors Restaurant and Comedy Club. Play Now, they're the title sponsor. Holt Dental, City Place, Wheatland Hockey, Boston Pizza, and the Rady JCC Sports Dinner with keynote speakers Joe Carter and Cito Gaston. Tickets available at RadyJCC.com. Support these fine businesses because of their continued support of Illegal Curve Hockey. We'll be back in 2.5 hours, maybe 3.5 hours for the post-game show. So don't miss us too much between now and then. For Dave Manouk, for Ezra Ginsburg, I'm your host, Drew Mandel. Thanks, everyone, for joining us. If it's Saturday, it's the Illegal Curve Hockey Show. We'll see you shortly for the post-game show.